If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 21, The Heavenly King, Coco. Heh. Later, when we go to capture a pair, I'll have to bring Zanja along. Let him and the Monkey King share a nice, long kiss. I'm sure the Monkey King would be more than willing. A deep, Simian-style French kiss. Ugh. The mental image was too beautiful to imagine. The fact that Mr. Zombie's face so closely resembled the Monkey King's lover was a bizarre coincidence of cosmic proportions. Perhaps it was the subtle hand of gourmet luck at work. Zanja, my name is Zanja. Get it right. Not zombie. Kenji, do you know anything about the cave beach? Toriko asked. The cave passages of the cave beach are a tangled maze. One wrong turn and you can get lost, trapped inside forever. They say a devil serpent with a capture level of over 20 lives in there. Most of the people heading there are either trying their luck or waiting to play the role of the opportunistic hunter who swoops in at the end. If they ran into a devil serpent, most of those people would be goners. While it couldn't compare to the original devil serpent species from the gourmet world, which had capture levels in the thousands, ordinary weapons were still useless against it. Toriko nodded. He had done some homework. If he were to face a devil serpent alone, it would be a tough fight, especially with the poor visibility inside the caves. We have arrived at our destination. The train's announcement indicated they had reached Fortune Teller Town. With the development of gourmet commerce, this town had become a major hub for food-related corporations, investors, and even ordinary stockholders. Although it was filled with scammers, the fortune tellers of this town had a surprisingly high accuracy rate. Toriko was scheduled to meet the Heavenly King Coco here. This wasn't their final destination. Master, we're heading out. See you later, Kenji said with a smile, spotting Jiro sitting and drinking as they disembarked. Hiccup. I won't be joining you, Jiro slurred, looking like any other ordinary, drunk old man. Toriko's expression was serious. That amazing hairstyle, it really is the legendary gourmet hunter. But the train was about to depart, so he didn't have a chance to approach and talk to Jiro. He would have to wait for another time. As the train doors closed, Jiro muttered to himself, Toriko, a fine young man. The future belongs to them, hiccup. I sense a beast, Toriko said. The streets of Fortune Teller Town were deserted, with only sand and dust blowing in the wind. Hey! Komatsu yelped, cautiously looking around. When he looked up, he saw a sign that read, Beware of beasts. In the decades of Fortune Teller Town's existence, not a single person had ever been attacked by a passing beast. This was because the town's fortune tellers would predict when beasts would appear, and the residents would hide in their homes. The walls of the houses were coated with a poison that repelled the creatures. Thump, thump. Just then, the ground began to tremble. A creature with a pointed head appeared. It had sharp, menacing teeth, a ruff of black fur like a collar, and massive wings on its back. It was taller than the 3-story buildings nearby. A Gaiden dragon. No matter how you cook it, it's not good. Capture level 10, Toriko said with a glance, showing no desire to capture it. Like the troll Kong, it was not an edible creature. That's a monster. Komatsu's eyes bulged out of his head, his mouth agape. It was even taller than the troll Kong's. Knocking. Bang. Without another word, Kenji appeared in front of the Gaiden dragon in a flash, delivering a single punch to its stomach. Arg! The Gaiden dragon let out a pained cry, its eyes bulging even wider than Komatsu's. It didn't fall but stood frozen in place, unable to move. Clap, clap, clap. Such an incredibly precise knocking technique. A man slowly approached, clapping his hands in admiration. He wore a black, tight-fitting suit with green wrappings around his head, arms, wrists, abdomen, and legs. Coco. You finally made it. Long time no see, you gentle soul of the 4 heavenly kings, Toriko said with a grin. Coco smiled back. Likewise, Toriko, you gluttonous child of the 4 heavenly kings. And these two are? Coco's gaze fell on Kenji and Komatsu. Komatsu seemed ordinary, but the incredibly powerful electromagnetic waves radiating from Kenji indicated that his strength was off the charts. Coco's vision allowed him to see these waves, which were invisible to normal people, and he could judge a person's strength by them. The waves coming from Kenji were terrifyingly strong, many times more powerful than Toriko's. He was one of the strongest individuals Coco had ever seen. Let me introduce you. This is Kenji, and this is Komatsu. Both are friends I've made recently, Toriko said. Hello, I'm Coco, he said with a smile, nodding. He had the same gentle demeanor Toriko had described. Mr. You're Mr. Coco of the Four Heavenly Kings. Komatsu suddenly shouted in shock. In this age of gourmet, the Four Heavenly Kings were celebrities among gourmet hunters. Hello, Coco. Just call me Kenji, Kenji said, nodding back. Coco was a poison man, possessing 500 different antibodies in his body. His primary method of attack was to use the various deadly poisons he produced. Unless you had the corresponding antibodies, he was an incredibly difficult opponent to face. However, the accuracy of his long-range attacks, like the poison cannon, was notoriously low. Kenji released the knocking, and the Gaiden dragon immediately tucked its tail between its legs and fled. It now knew, with absolute certainty, that Kenji was not someone to be trifled with. The newcomer, Coco, also gave off an extremely dangerous feeling, as if a single touch would mean death. Time to get out of here. If it weren't for the fact that it tasted terrible, it would probably be on a cutting board right now. Coco was filled with admiration. Kenji's knocking skill was among the best he had ever seen, reaching a state of effortless mastery. He hadn't even used a knocking gun, paralyzing the beast with a seemingly casual touch. To perform knocking with his bare hands, Coco himself would need to observe carefully and strike with precise timing. Knocking wasn't just for paralyzing enemies, for a master, it was a highly effective offensive technique. The legendary knocking master Jiro, for example, was a superpowered individual known throughout the world for his knocking skills. Oh no! We have to go, now! The next second, Coco seemed to sense something. His expression changed drastically, and he turned and ran out of town, disappearing from sight in the blink of an eye. Where did Mr. Coco go? Wait, he was just here a second ago. How disappointing! I wanted to get a fortune reading from him. A large crowd of men, women, and children of all ages poured out from the surrounding houses, all shouting Coco's name. Kenji and the others now understood why Coco had bolted. They had no idea he had so many fanatical fans. They wiped the sweat from their brows. If Coco hadn't run so fast, they would have been trapped there all day. They quickly chased after him. Coco, you have a lot of crazy fans, Toriko teased when they caught up with him outside of town, finding him breathing a sigh of relief. I can't help it, Coco said with a helpless smile. His fortune-telling was probably too accurate, and he had unwittingly amassed a large and very enthusiastic fan base. He had been mobbed a few times before, so he had learned from experience how to escape before being completely surrounded. Now he just had to make it back to his home. Chapter 22, The Emperor Crow. Mr. Coco's popularity is terrifying, Komatsu marveled. Toriko was also one of the Four Heavenly Kings, and he had been out with him several times, but he had never seen such fervent fans. I'm currently working as a fortune teller. Many people seek me out for readings. Being a gourmet hunter is more of a side job for me, Coco said with a calm smile. President Ichiryu would be heartbroken to hear that, Toriko chuckled. Above all else, Ichiryu probably wanted to see them become powerful gourmet hunters, though he never forced them into any specific path. My work is fortune-telling for now, but that might not be the case in the future, Coco said, slowly shaking his head. Being a gourmet hunter isn't so bad. It's a high-status profession in this era, Kenji commented. In the world of Toriko, those who starved to death were mostly ordinary people. The deaths of gourmet hunters were usually caused by overestimating their abilities and challenging beasts far stronger than themselves, becoming a monster's dessert, or succumbing to harsh environments. Most valuable ingredients grew in dangerous, wild places. By the way, how is that guy Zebra doing? Toriko asked. He's been arrested. He's currently being held in gourmet prison, Coco replied with a smile. Toriko burst out laughing. Haha. So that problem child Zebra finally got caught. He felt no sympathy. He knew Zebra would be fine. As one of the Four Heavenly Kings, his imprisonment was more of a formality. If the ego did nothing and let him run wild, public opinion would turn against them. Zebra was a special case among the Four Heavenly Kings. The reason he was thrown in gourmet prison was entirely because of his eating habits. He could drive dangerous species to extinction with his appetite. While Toriko was called a glutton, Zebra's appetite was even more voracious. Toriko wondered who had been strong enough to capture him, Zebra's destructive power was something he acknowledged. How nostalgic, those days of life or death training in the garden, Toriko said, a wistful look on his face as an image of the four of them fighting side by side flashed through his mind. Coco felt the same. Those days were unforgettable. But after they left the garden, they had scattered across the world, and their meetings became few and far between. Caw! Caw! A massive shadow fell over them, accompanied by the loud cawing of a crow. Is that an emperor crow? Weren't they supposed to be extinct? Toriko said in surprise. He hadn't seen this creature the last time he met with Coco. Emperor crows aren't extinct, Toriko, Kenji explained. You just can't find them in the human world. In the gourmet world, there are entire flocks of them. The capture level of their leader, the Bird King, is over 6,000. The 8 kings of the gourmet world were the apex creatures of the planet. Not only were they incredibly strong, but their senses were also so sharp that they had managed to survive multiple world-ending calamities. The Bird King. A faint memory sparked in Toriko's mind. I think President Ichiryu mentioned it once. A very powerful creature. He remembered Ichiryu mentioning it over a meal once, but he hadn't gone into detail, so Toriko only remembered the name. S6,000. Komatsu's jaw dropped. It was hard to even imagine how powerful a beast with a capture level of 6,000 would be. It could probably blow him out of the Earth's atmosphere with a single breath. He wasn't wrong. A single puff of air from the Horse King's nostrils could obliterate a person into dust. Even Toriko, in his first encounter with the Horse King, had half his body blown away. If it weren't for his gourmet demon, the series could have ended right there. Although Toriko was shocked by the capture level, he was confident that he would one day reach that level of power. The gourmet world really is terrifying, he thought, to have creatures with such ridiculous capture levels. No wonder Ichiryu had forbidden them from going there now. At their current strength, it would be a suicide mission. But the danger only made the ingredients of the gourmet world more enticing. Kenji knew that besides this Emperor Crow, the next member of the 8 Kings species they would encounter in the human world would be a cloned battle wolf. He made a mental note to go see it when the time came. He wondered how magnificent it would look. Kiss, I'll need you to give us a ride. Toriko is quite heavy, Coco said to his crow. Toriko was not light. As the glutton of the 4 heavenly kings, his body mass and stored energy were second only to Zebra's. Coco weighed 100 kilograms, while Toriko was more than double that. I'm good, Kenji said, simply flying up. Coco was slightly surprised. He hadn't expected Kenji to have such a skill. Kiss, the Emperor Crow, carried the 3 of them to Coco's house, which was built on a solitary rock pillar surrounded by sheer vertical cliffs, a very secluded and peaceful place. Toriko, you're here to commission a job, aren't you? Coco asked, sipping his tea as he watched Toriko devour the food on the table. He was momentarily speechless. Just as crude as he was back then. Mr. Coco, can you remove the poison sac of a puffer whale? Komatsu asked expectantly. I've never tried, Coco admitted. The puffer whale only surfaces at the cave beach every 10 years to spawn. The ones that circulate on the market are often already poisoned. People still eat them because they're so delicious. Are you sure you haven't come to the wrong person? I'm not a professional chef. And the probability of capturing a puffer whale without it releasing its poison is only 50%. The probability of successfully removing the poison sac is even lower. 1 or 2% would be considered very lucky. Although Coco had already divined their purpose for coming, he felt helpless. Haha, that's more than enough. If I tried to do it, the probability would be 0. The whole thing would be poisoned, Toriko laughed, unconcerned. If I get it, it's my luck. If I don't, it's my fate. Besides, they had Komatsu. Although they had only been on a few trips together, Toriko had great respect for his cooking skills. With all of them working together, they would surely succeed. All right, I'll go with you, Coco sighed. It had been a while since he had done anything related to being a gourmet hunter. For the past few years, besides finding a few ingredients for his own full-course menu, he had mainly been working as a fortune teller. His combat skills had gotten a little rusty. Hold on, I haven't finished eating yet, Toriko said, starting to inhale his food at an incredible speed. Wasting food was a disgrace. Kenji, when did you become a gourmet hunter? Coco asked, making small talk while he waited. I just graduated a few months ago, Kenji replied with a smile. Chapter 23, Planetary Devastation vs. Black Zetsu. The group arrived at the cave beach. The entrance to the cave was like the gaping maw of some abyssal beast, dark and bottomless, exuding a sinister aura that made one feel that once they entered, they would never come out. Besides the people they could see out in the open, there were others hiding behind rocks, likely waiting for an opportunity to snatch the prize after someone else had done all the hard work. Despite the known dangers, the value of a puffer whale was too high to ignore. As the saying goes, fortune favors the bold. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Kenji. Toriko. Komatsu. Hey! Tina, the reporter, ran over excitedly, camera in hand. She had been waiting for a long time and was relieved to finally find a group of reliable, familiar gourmet hunters. Why Yuri, the Heavenly King Coco. Tina gasped when she saw him, instinctively pointing her camera at him. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of being photographed, Coco said, gently covering the lens with his hand. Oh, okay, Tina nodded, lowering her camera. By the way, are you all going inside to capture a puffer whale? Can I come with you? She pleaded. Miss Tina, it's going to be very dangerous. Why do you want to go in? Komatsu asked, puzzled. This reporter seemed a little too dedicated to her job. She was even braver than he was. The reason is simple. I want to record the process of capturing and cooking a puffer whale, Tina explained. You're a very dedicated reporter, Kenji said with a smile. Sure, you can come along. And so, the decision was made. 3 gourmet hunters, a defenseless chef, and a reporter ventured into the cave. Coco paid special attention to Komatsu. He had seen a death sign appear over Komatsu's head, which meant he would soon face a life-or-death crisis. Komatsu, whatever happens, don't leave my side, Coco warned. But as soon as he said it, Komatsu, as if he hadn't heard a word, ran off to the side. Mr. Toriko. There are crispy crisp mushrooms over here. Ooh, these are good. The gluttonous Toriko immediately picked one up and started eating. Sigh. Coco slapped his forehead and let out a long, weary sigh. He felt like he was wasting his breath. Where's Kenji? Coco suddenly noticed that Kenji had disappeared. He wasn't worried, though. Kenji was incredibly strong, and he couldn't see any sign of death on him. It's not very big, but it'll do, Kenji muttered to himself. In the palm of his hand, stardust gathered, swirled, and fused, gradually forming a glowing, basketball-sized sphere. As the Star Forger, he could create stars, but he wasn't yet capable of creating a planet the size of the one beneath his feet. However, creating a tiny, miniature star was no problem. It would serve as a good light source. Using a miniature star as a flashlight, what a luxury! In the dark cave, rock candy fireflies occasionally fluttered by, providing fleeting moments of light. Run! As Kenji walked forward, the Zanja trio brushed past him, pursued by dozens of giant centipedes, each over 6 meters long. Ugh, it stinks. Kenji pinched his nose. The overpowering stench and their ugly appearance completely killed his appetite. He used his life-erasing technique to hide his presence. Zanja and his crew ran, and the giant centipedes chased. Kenji wasn't worried in the slightest. After all, Mr. Zombie's gourmet luck was ridiculously overpowered. Ghost of the Uchiha, Kenji, Black Zetsu is back. What should I be aware of when I confront him? At Star Forger. As expected of Madara Uchiha, Kenji thought. He doesn't let a grudge grow cold. The moment Black Zetsu returned, he was ready to make his move. Star Forger, Black Zetsu is a product of yin-yang release, so most normal ninjutsu won't be very effective. Senjutsu and yin-yang release can harm him. You should try using the 6 paths power contained within your Rinnegan. Use planetary devastation to seal him. Black Zetsu didn't know that Madara had figured everything out, so his guard would be at its lowest. A moment of silence for Black Zetsu. Even though Madara was old, a weakened lion was still more than a match for a jackal. And Black Zetsu's direct combat abilities were not his strong suit. While Nagato and Obito had both used Madara's Rinnegan, their proficiency couldn't compare to Madara himself. Ghost of the Uchiha, planetary devastation? I understand. Madara went offline. His purple, ripple-patterned Rinnegan stared at the half-black, half-white figure before him, a glint of icy killing intent flashing in their depths. So you're going to backstab me, are you? Rip my heart out, will you? You want to dance, too? Lord Madara? Lord Madara! Black Zetsu looked at Madara, sensing something was off today, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Have you found a suitable candidate? Madara didn't move on Black Zetsu immediately. Instead, he asked about the task he had assigned him, to find a suitable pawn. Lord Madara, I have found a young Uchiha boy, Obito Uchiha. His personality is quite simple and emotional. He will be easy to manipulate. Black Zetsu reported, completely serious. His mother's freedom was at stake, so he was being extremely diligent. A muscle in Madara's cheek twitched. I strongly suspect you're projecting. If it weren't for the chat group, he would have gone to his grave completely fooled by Black Zetsu. Easy to manipulate, is he? Madara chuckled sinisterly. Black Zetsu, thinking Madara was pleased that a pawn had been secured, eagerly added, as long as we make him lose the person closest to him, he will definitely be driven to extremes. Then we can. Black Zetsu, Madara interrupted, his face now devoid of expression. I have a question for you. Kagaya Tsutsuki. Do you know her? At the mention of his mother's name, a rare look of shock appeared on Black Zetsu's featureless face. How could Madara possibly know? Madara, you. Black Zetsu dropped the honorific, a sense of dread washing over him. Legs, get moving. Run. Trying to run? Too late. Planetary devastation. Madara raised his hand, forming a pitch-black sphere of energy. He shot it toward Black Zetsu, and a powerful gravitational force erupted from it. With Black Zetsu at the center, the ground began to crack and crumble, chunks of rock and earth flying toward the gravitational core. How is this possible? I refuse to accept this. Everything was going so smoothly. What went wrong? Black Zetsu shrieked in agony. This was a Rinnegan technique. Caught off guard, he had no way to escape. How could Madara, the fool I've been playing like a fiddle, suddenly know my identity? You piece of trash! You will stay here forever. Seal. Madara clapped his hands together, pouring all his power into the Rinnegan's ocular jutsu. Countless rocks converged, layer upon layer, and the rocky sphere grew rapidly, completely engulfing Black Zetsu's form. Before he was completely sealed, Black Zetsu's last thought was of Hago Romo Tsutsuki. It must have been that unfilial son, the sage of six paths, who told Madara the truth. After scheming for so long, he had been on the verge of success, only to fail at the last moment. With a final surge of power, the seal was complete. Ha, ha! A massive sphere of rock, like a small moon, now floated in the air. Madara let out a long breath, a visible exhaustion on his face. He was old now, his strength failing him. But at last, he had dealt with the traitor, Black Zetsu. Chapter 24, One-Shotting the Devil Serpent. Ghost of the Uchiha, Black Zetsu has been sealed. Miss Pink Elf, congratulations, Mr. Madara, on successfully eliminating your enemy. Star Forger, Madara, don't celebrate too early. While it's unlikely Kagaya Tsutsuki will be released, there are still potential crises lurking in the ninja world. Ghost of the Uchiha, don't tell me there's another hidden scheme left behind by someone else. Madara was getting fed up. Was the ninja world really this murky? Star Forger, yes, there are. There are many other beings like Kagaya Tsutsuki. Star Forger, Kagaya isn't native to your world. She's an alien. In the future, other members of the Tsutsuki clan will come looking for her. Ghost of the Uchiha, hiss. Madara felt his scalp tingle. Although there weren't many records of the Sage of Six Paths mother, her power was certainly no less than her son's. And now he was being told there were more Tsutsuki out there. The ninja world was truly a calamitous place. Star Forger, I'm a bit busy on my end right now. I'll upload the relevant memory files for you to review later. Boom! A massive explosion echoed through the cave. The rock walls around Kenji began to tremble, and countless butterfly bats fled in a panic toward the exit. That loud noise, must be that thing Toriko gave Komatsu on the train, Kenji muttered, heading toward the sound. Komatsu lay peacefully on the ground, a used party popper clutched in his hand. His pupils were dilated and unfocused, and blood trickled from his ears. The massive sound had stopped his heart. HSSSSS. The devil serpent looked up at Tina, drooling as it slithered toward her. It seemed to have decided to eat her first before moving on to Komatsu. Perhaps this was a benefit of having strong gourmet luck. The sound of the party popper had startled it for a moment, but it wasn't enough to scare it away. I'm so unlucky. Tina knelt on a cliff ledge above, filled with despair. Although she was far away, she hadn't been wearing earplugs either. The sound of the popper had scrambled her brain, and she was temporarily unable to control her body. I'm definitely going to be eaten by the devil serpent. There are still so many amazing things I haven't filmed yet. I don't want to die. Boom. A loud crash came from above. Just then, the rock ceiling above them shattered. Broken stones rained down, and Kenji flew out from the newly formed hole. Kenji. Seeing Kenji's reassuring figure, Tina burst into tears of joy. She wasn't going to be eaten after all. Oh, you're here too, Kenji said with a smile. Pa pa pa. Knocking. Flying in the air, Kenji used his knocking technique on the devil serpent. The massive snake twitched a few times before going limp, collapsing to the ground. Devil serpent meat tasted quite good. It would be a waste to just blow it to pieces. Amazing! Tina gasped. Such a powerful creature had been defeated in an instant. No need for me to step in. A small giant, who looked like he had skipped leg day for his entire life, came walking over, carrying a bucket full of puffer whales. He was drunk and swayed with every step, looking like he could fall over at any moment. Who is that? Tina's eyes widened. He was huge. His upper body was incredibly muscular, but his lower body looked like it had never seen a day of training. Master, you've already captured the puffer whales? Kenji asked, speechless. As expected of someone who came here every time, he probably knew the route by heart. Master. Tina looked between the two of them, shocked that Kenji's master was this giant old man. Wait, no. Are those puffer whales? By the looks of it, there must be dozens of them. She had just noticed the bucket Jiro was carrying. It was full of knocked puffer whales, none of them poisoned, and all incredibly fresh. His heart has stopped. Jiro looked down and assessed Komatsu's situation. The little fella has good gourmet luck, Jiro said, sobering up a bit as he looked at Komatsu meaningfully. Perhaps his arrival was guided by that very luck. It's been a while since I've had to restart a heart. Zip. Jiro opened his vest, revealing two sides lined with a variety of knocking tools. He had everything he could possibly need. Hiccup. Compared to animals with their incomprehensible internal structures, humans are so simple and easy to understand, Jiro said, placing a knocking gun on Komatsu's chest. Like a defibrillator, Komatsu's chest heaved. His stopped heart was reactivated, and blood began to circulate through his body once more. The heartbeat is restored. Now for the eardrums. Hearing the heartbeat, Jiro took out a tool that looked like an ear pick and inserted it into Komatsu's ear, repairing the eardrums that had been ruptured by the loud noise. This membrane is made from a special polysaccharide found in the shell of the deep-sea Dr. lobster. Its biocompatibility is unparalleled. This should do it. He'll be able to hear normally from now on, and swimming won't be a problem. This is your second life, little fella. Cherish it. Amazing, Master, Kenji said, impressed. Hiccup. Kenji, I'm off. Drop by Setsuno's place when you have time. She's eager to meet you, Jiro said, waving as he left with his bucket. He wasn't worried about the other creature lurking in the sea. He knew Kenji could handle it, so he didn't bother mentioning it. I will, Kenji nodded. Master Setsuno was a living national gourmet treasure, her cooking skills taught to her by the legendary Frost. He was very much looking forward to tasting her food. Kenji, who is your master? Tina asked, still in shock. To be able to revive someone whose heart had stopped without going to a hospital, it was a godlike skill. Jiro, Kenji replied, seeing no reason to hide it. No way. That legendary gourmet hunter, knocking Master Jiro. Tina's jaw nearly hit the floor. The four heavenly kings were famous now, but they were nothing compared to a living legend. Jiro was a legend among legends. No wonder Kenji is so strong. He's the disciple of that legendary figure. This is a huge scoop. But unfortunately, she couldn't report it. A figure of his stature was essentially retired and would certainly not appreciate being on television. Ugh! Mr. Kenji! Miss Tina! Komatsu groaned, his eyes fluttering open. How are you feeling now? Kenji asked. Komatsu was dazed for a moment, then he remembered. He had used the party popper Toriko had made, and then, nothing. I'm fine. Komatsu checked his body. He seemed to be okay. What happened? Your heart stopped and your eardrums were ruptured. My master was passing by and saved you, Kenji explained. The memory came flooding back to Komatsu, and a look of fear crossed his face. He had just taken a stroll through death's door. Chapter 25, Capturing the Puffer Whale. Komatsu. Toriko and Coco came running, their bodies still bearing the marks of their battle with the devil serpent. They were so worried about Komatsu's safety that they hadn't even stopped to rest. Coco, in particular, had been terrified for his life, having seen the death sign on him before they even entered the cave. When they saw that Komatsu was unharmed, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Mr. Toriko. Komatsu burst into tears and threw himself into Toriko's arms. He had been so close to death, it was impossible not to be shaken. After he had cried his fill, he started complaining to Toriko about the party popper. It was so powerful it had almost sent him to the afterlife on the spot. Kenji just smiled and shook his head. Toriko and Komatsu really are true love. Rin, then what about me? Coco took another look. The death sign on Komatsu was gone. He then glanced at the knocked devil serpent. Not many people knew the pressure points of a creature like that. Kenji, you saved Komatsu, didn't you? Toriko asked with a smile. From Komatsu's complaints, it was clear he hadn't worn earplugs when he used the party popper. He should have suffered cardiac arrest and ruptured eardrums, but now he was perfectly fine. Mr. Kenji, thank you. Please convey my gratitude to Master Jiro as well, Komatsu said, bowing a full 90 degrees. I will, Kenji nodded. Coco's face showed his surprise. What a shocking name. It seemed Kenji was Jiro's disciple. No wonder he could perform knocking on a devil serpent. That man knew the pressure points of practically every animal, and the knocking guns he used were custom-made, not available on the market. Before entering the cave, Coco had indeed sensed an extremely powerful electromagnetic wave. It must have been from Jiro. It was an aura even stronger than Kenji's, one he had only ever felt from President Ichiryu. The group soon arrived at the cave beach. The darkness dissipated, replaced by the glow of numerous blue crystals that illuminated the cavern. The seawater reflected the light, making it sparkle. Wow! I'm definitely the first reporter to ever come to the cave beach. Tina exclaimed, excitedly filming everything. There are a lot of sea fireflies in this area. The water visibility is excellent. Even if we encounter a puffer whale, we'll be able to spot it immediately, Coco observed. Sea fireflies were marine insects whose tails contained a special glowing protein. The light they emitted was several times brighter than that of a common firefly. In large numbers, they could illuminate the dark seabed as if it were daytime. They had no culinary value but were beautiful to look at. Toriko immediately took off his shirt and boots on the beach and jumped into the water in his shorts. Coco followed right behind him. Komatsu, Tina, you two wait on the beach. It's relatively safe here for now, Kenji said before diving in himself. The water visibility was high, and the quality was crystal clear. They could see many strange and wonderful sea creatures, tuna with squid tentacles, sea anemones, corals, horned sharks, spiny sea turtles, and long, ribbon-like cutlass fish. Suddenly, Kenji spotted a giant puffer whale. Toriko and Coco saw it at the same time. It was enormous. Toriko was taken aback by its size. Aren't puffer whales supposed to be small? In his mind, a puffer whale, despite having whale in its name, should be the size of a regular pufferfish. Look closer, Toriko. It's made up of countless smaller puffer whales, Kenji pointed out with a laugh. Coco nodded. His vision was far superior to Toriko's, so he had seen the truth at a glance. Toriko looked closely, and the giant puffer whale instantly broke apart into a massive school of smaller ones. The sheer number was astounding. There are so many. We can catch them as we please. Toriko eagerly swam toward the school. The moment he touched one, the snow-white fish turned a purplish-black and instantly died, poisoned. So fast. It's already poisoned, Toriko's eyes widened. He had barely touched it. What sensitive skin! Coco shook his head in exasperation. Toriko is so reckless. Swish, swish, swish. When Coco looked at Kenji, his jaw dropped, bubbles escaping from his mouth. Kenji was using a special kind of knocking gun, firing incredibly fine needles that created thread-like vacuum trails in the water. When the needles hit the puffer whales, they didn't get poisoned. They simply stopped swimming and drifted down to the sandy seabed. This level of exquisite skill completely blew Coco away. As expected of the knocking master's disciple, he thought with awe. There are few in this world who can achieve such extraordinary knocking techniques. That should be enough, Kenji nodded, having captured over 200 of them. As Jiro's disciple, he naturally knew how to make his own specialized knocking guns. The needles of his gun were even finer than those on the market, allowing him to perform knocking on the puffer whales without them even noticing. You guys take your time, Kenji said with a wave. Toriko and Coco's mouths twitched. They had to use their life-erasing technique to conceal their presence and catch them one by one. They couldn't do it as effortlessly as Kenji. Meanwhile, outside the cave, a group of would-be poachers who had been lying in wait were now all lying on the ground, knocked by Jiro. They had picked the wrong person to ambush. Jiro hadn't killed them, which was lucky for them. Of all the people to pick, they chose the strongest one. It was like playing Gourmet Hunter blind box and pulling the grand prize. Hiccup. Kenji should have captured the puffer whales by now. Jiro smiled and shook his head, leaving with his own catch. He had no doubt Kenji could capture the puffer whales, but he probably couldn't remove the poison sacs. Cooking ingredients was a job for a professional chef. Komatsu, the boy he had just saved, could probably handle it, though it might take him a few tries. An hour later, Coco and Toriko had only managed to catch a dozen or so. They kept accidentally poisoning them, and they had to surface to breathe every so often, wasting a lot of time. The puffer whales had already left, so catching any in such a short time was largely a matter of luck. Whoa, is that a shell shark? I can't believe you caught one of these, Kenji. Toriko said in surprise, looking at the 10-meter-long shark. Unlike most sharks, whose meat is tough, this one's flesh is as tender as scallop meat. The meat of a shell shark was delicious, and even its shell-like scales could be sold. Some people used them as decorations, and its bones could be used to make a sweet and savory seafood bone broth. It'll be the perfect appetizer before we taste the puffer whale. Definitely. I'll help you. Chapter 26, Daigo, Kaiju. Mr. Coco, I'll be counting on you. Komatsu said with grave sincerity. It was his first time handling a puffer whale, and he had no idea where to even begin. All right, let me give it a try, Coco replied. Feeling Komatsu's hopeful gaze on him, he started to sweat. He wasn't very confident himself, he wasn't a chef. There were only about 10 chefs in the world known to be able to perfectly remove a puffer whale's poison sac. Coco held the kitchen knife, his mind completely focused. He used his superhuman vision to carefully observe the fish. Tina held her camera, its lens trained on the puffer whale. She held her breath, afraid of disturbing Coco. Meanwhile, Kenji and Toriko were busy dismembering the shell shark, already enjoying some sashimi. The sweet and chewy sashimi was delicious even without any dipping sauce, and the two of them were eating with gusto. The best way to help Coco and Komatsu was to not bother them. Crash test pilot, Mr. Kenji, is this what you meant by a kaiju? Degree, at Starforger. Crash test pilot, galza_image.jpg. The attached picture showed a giant monster several dozen meters tall. Its muscular body had a rock-like texture, exuding a sense of immense power. Its head looked like it was wearing a stone helmet, tapering to a point. Miss Pink Elf, that's bigger than most Honkai beasts. Daigo, your world looks very dangerous. Ghost of the Uchiha, in terms of size, it would rank among the largest of the nine-tailed beasts. The Nine Tails was 70 meters tall, while Galza was 62 meters. Lady Justice, it could probably destroy a whole country, couldn't it? Perhaps only the gods from the Archon War had that kind of size. Starforger, that's the super ancient monster, Galza, also known as the monster that shakes the earth. 30 million years ago, there were many of them, but now, there's probably only this one left on Earth. Galza, Kenji recalled. It appeared twice in the Ultraman Tiga series. After being defeated the second time, Tiga threw it into a volcano. Later, during the Ultraman Dyna era, it reappeared and gave Dyna a thorough beating, nearly making him question his own existence. It was probably the same one. A classic case of the older brother setting up the younger one for a fall. Dinah meets Galza for the first time. Galza, cautiously, is that you, Tiga-san? After confirming it's not his old foe, Galza lets out a sigh of relief. Galza, arrogantly, what's this? You have the same haircut as me. Galza, arrogantly, what's this? You're rocking the same color scheme as my big bro. Galza, arrogantly, here, have a slap. He grabs Dinah by the neck. Galza, smugly, didn't expect that, did you? Tiga taught me this move. Crash test pilot, it's from 30 million years ago? Can humanity's current weapons even deal with this Galza? Daigo fell into deep thought. While he had managed to scare Galza away with a signal flare for now, he was sure it would reappear. A 60-meter-tall monster was a behemoth to humans. Most weapons would probably just tickle it. Starforger, a few select weapons can deal with kaiju. Has your Guts team recently discovered a meteorite from outer space? In the world of Tiga, most weapons were only effective for scraping off some skin, but some could actually harm the monsters, like the weapons powered by the Maxima overdrive system. In the early stages, the Ultras were the main fighting force. Humanity's weapons only became truly effective later on. Crash test pilot, we did just find a meteorite. The captain sent a message for us to assemble. Starforger, the meteorite's outer shell contains a product from 30 million years ago. There's useful information for you inside. Kenji didn't tell Daigo that he would become Ultraman Tiga just yet. He didn't want Daigo to get cocky and crash his plane before he could even transform. The power of an Ultra was heavily influenced by their spirit. If Daigo knew in advance, the change in his mindset might affect Tiga's arrival. Crash test pilot, I understand. Thank you. Coco was completely focused on preparing the puffer whale. The first one, as expected, became poisoned. The slightest miscalculation in the knife's placement would cause it to instantly turn toxic. Because it was so difficult to prepare, the puffer whale was classified as a special preparation ingredient. The angle and depth of the cut both affected the final result. Coco had just managed to expose the poison sac when a slight tremor in his hands caused the fish to turn toxic. Komatsu, you do it, Coco said, taking a deep breath. The intense concentration had left him mentally exhausted. His hands were starting to shake. If he continued, he would just waste more puffer whales. Hey? Me? Komatsu yelped, startled. He had never prepared a puffer whale before. Don't worry, Komatsu. Compared to an amateur like me, you're a professional chef. Have some confidence. I'll guide you. Believe in yourself, Coco encouraged with a smile. Komatsu's confidence swelled. He took out his kitchen knife. Coco couldn't help but admire it. What a fine blade! You could tell the quality of a chef by their knife. The care and maintenance Komatsu put into his knife was a testament to his love for his profession. Mr. Coco, I'm ready, Komatsu said, taking a deep breath to steady himself. This was the most challenging ingredient he had ever faced as a chef. Good. Start the incision along the caudal fin. Coco began to guide him. Komatsu's movements were so skilled that Coco couldn't help but be impressed. This is what you call a professional. Despite his excellent knife skills, however, Komatsu still made unavoidable mistakes, causing several puffer whales to turn toxic. It was like disarming a bomb, one slight misstep and all his efforts would be for naught. Is that the poison sac? On the 10th fish, it didn't turn toxic. The body of the puffer whale split open, revealing a purplish-black poison sac. He was just one step away from success. Now, you have to use your hands. Don't rupture the sac. Remove the surrounding membrane, little by little. Komatsu swallowed hard, not daring to relax for a second. He had already wasted so many. Gently, slowly. The membrane around the poison sac was removed bit by bit. The sac rested in his palm. The next moment, with a swift and precise motion, Komatsu cleanly separated it. Not a single drop of venom remained in the puffer whale's body. Whoa, a golden legendary! With the poison sac removed, the puffer whale's white flesh transformed into a dazzling gold, shimmering like a precious metal. A golden puffer whale like this was worth 500 million yen on the market. Even a poisoned one could sell for 8 million on the black market, though their sale was prohibited, hence their circulation only in illicit channels. Because a properly prepared puffer whale was almost impossible to find, some people would risk death to eat the poisoned ones, tasting the delicious flavor for a moment before succumbing to the poison. Komatsu, well done, Coco praised. There were fewer than 10 chefs in the world who could prepare a puffer whale. Komatsu was now one of them. It was all thanks to your guidance, Mr. Coco. Komatsu danced with excitement. He had just prepared a puffer whale. Even without eating it, the sense of accomplishment was incredibly satisfying. This is so exciting. To be able to record the preparation of a puffer whale. Tina said, her camera rolling. While Komatsu wasn't the only one who could do it, she was probably the only one who had ever filmed the process. Chapter 27, Starjun. Komatsu, can we eat it now? Toriko drooled. The shimmering golden puffer whale looked incredibly appetizing. Such a supreme delicacy should be eaten as sashimi to savor its purest, most original flavor. Yes, just a moment. Let me slice it. After some simple preparation by Komatsu, the evenly sliced sashimi, so thin it was almost translucent, was arranged on green leaves. Let's eat. A toast with puffer whale fin sake to celebrate our successful capture. The 5 of them sat in a circle, with steaming cups of fin sake and plates of puffer whale sashimi before them. The heat of the sake, which had been warmed with the fins, beautifully highlighted their delicate flavor. Kenji now understood why his master had such a fondness for it. For a man who lived and breathed alcohol like Jiro, this was a truly exquisite drink. What beautiful meat! It has a pinkish glow, and the fat is marbled like high-quality beef. It looks more like whale meat, Kenji remarked, lifting a few slices to observe them. Itadakimasu. They all said in unison, beginning to taste the puffer whale sashimi. As they chewed, the delicious flavor of the fat filled their mouths. It was sweet and savory. Unlike the melt-in-your-mouth texture of fatty tuna, it was more like fugu, growing more fragrant the more you chewed. The flavor emerged in continuous waves, a deep sea-like taste that was an endless, supreme bliss. They all understood now why some people would risk death just to taste the puffer whale. It made sense why the poisoned ones still circulated on the black market. So delicious! Puffer whale sashimi is a taste of heaven, Komatsu cried, tears of joy streaming down his face as he cupped his cheeks. Tina was the same. She had risked her life to come along, and though she had almost died, it was all worth it. Not only had she recorded so many incredible moments, but she also got to eat this divine sashimi. Haha, of course. We worked hard to capture it and prepared it with our own hands. It's bound to be the best, Toriko laughed. After eating the puffer whale, the muscles in Toriko's body began to tremble involuntarily. The fatigue from his battle with the devil serpent was completely gone, and his strength had even increased. Seeing everyone's satisfaction and feeling this long-lost sense of sensation, Coco felt a wave of nostalgia and began to consider returning to his old profession as a gourmet hunter. Splash! Suddenly, the sound of something emerging from the water broke the peaceful atmosphere. The group looked over to see a strange bipedal creature covered in black fur. It had a long, pointed snout like an anteater and radiated a terrifying and dangerous aura. In its hand, it carried a net bag filled with dozens of puffer whales. AGT Robo. Kenji calmly observed the creature. No, not a creature, but an artificial robot modeled after the Nitro, created by the Gourmet Corp. Piloting this robot was the Gourmet Corp's vice chef, Starjun, Toriko's own brother, the son of Acacia and Fros. These robots were made of incredibly durable materials and could withstand harsh environments, allowing them to capture prey in places where gourmet hunters couldn't go. The manga never gave a specific power level for Starjun, but when he appeared in his real body at the cooking festival for a true man-to-man battle with Toriko, he could probably handle beasts with capture levels in the hundreds. The power levels in the later parts of the series were so chaotic and spanned such a wide range that Kenji could only make a rough guess. This GT Robo couldn't bring out Starjun's full power, but it was more than capable of handling beasts with capture levels in the dozens. That was more than enough to take care of the current Toriko and Coco. They were still too weak. Get back! Sensing the dangerous aura from the robot, Toriko roared, telling Komatsu and Tina to retreat. His muscles instantly tensed, and he entered a combat stance. A deadly, purplish-black poison began to seep from Coco's skin, dripping from his fingertips onto the sand. The Heavenly Kings, Toriko and Coco. Starjun, piloting the robot, recognized the two but showed no intention of fighting them. He was only here to capture puffer whales, not to deal with the 4 Heavenly Kings. Besides, they were still too weak. Perhaps in the future, they could provide him with some entertaining battles. What interested him was Kenji, who was sitting there calmly, his aura as steady as a rock, completely unaffected. A master stronger than the 4 heavenly kings. He made a mental note of the man. Gourmet Corp Vice Chef, Starjun. And a new model GT Robo, Kenji said, calling out the pilot of the robot. Oh! A slightly surprised voice came from the robot. Interesting that he could recognize my identity at a glance. State your name, Starjun demanded. Kenji. Just a passing by gourmet hunter, Kenji replied, not bothering to stand up. Kenji. I'll remember that. Fighting you in a GT Robo wouldn't be satisfying. Let's have a proper match when we get the chance. Sure. I'll be waiting. Starjun didn't make a move. He left as abruptly as he had appeared. The GT Robo couldn't unleash his full power, and he was burdened with the puffer whales. There would be other opportunities for a real fight. So that was the rumored Gourmet Corp Vice Chef, Starjun. What a dangerous man. Even though it wasn't his real body, his presence was overwhelming, Toriko said, gasping for breath alongside Coco, both of them drenched in sweat. It was the first time they had ever felt such a deadly threat. If they had fought, they would have surely died, even if they had used every trick up their sleeves. I've never seen such an electromagnetic wave before. It was terrifying, Coco added. That was a GT Robo, developed by the Gourmet Corp. You can ask the IGO's top brass or researchers, they'll have all the data on them, Kenji explained. Coco nodded. That made sense. Although the electromagnetic wave was powerful, it was different from that of a living creature. If it was a robot, then it was plausible. He had heard of the GT Robos, they were a high-tech product of the Gourmet Corp's research. Don't report this part, Kenji warned Tina. You should know a little about the Gourmet Corp. They were mostly ruthless individuals who wouldn't hesitate to take action against a television station. Tina nodded vigorously, like a chick pecking at grain. That aura had been terrifying. It was the infamous Gourmet Corp. She wasn't that foolish. The group packed up and left the cave beach. As soon as they saw the sun again, they were greeted by the sight of many dead bodies lying on the ground. All had been killed by a single, fatal blow. Beside them were the footprints of a GT Robo. The GT Robo from before did this, didn't it? Toriko's brow furrowed. They were waiting to be the hunter who swoops in at the end, but they chose the wrong target, Coco said. Kenji glanced at the bodies, a strange expression on his face. These people had already been knocked by Jiro before Starjun killed them. What a bunch of unlucky fools. Jiro hadn't bothered to kill them, so they would have had a chance to live after the knocking wore off. But then they ran into Starjun, who had no qualms about sending them to the next world. Chapter 28, Uploading Memory Fragments. Ding! Starforger has uploaded the memory fragment Naruto. Starforger, Madara, this is a memory related to your world. It's a bit long. You'll appear in the later parts, so you can skip ahead for now. Kenji uploaded the relevant manga and anime. Both were quite lengthy. Madara's appearance as an Edo Tensei reincarnation didn't happen until the Fourth Great Ninja War in the later stages of the story. The earlier parts didn't mention him much. If the others wanted to know about their worlds, he could compile the information for them later. It wouldn't cost him anything, and there was no need to act like some all-knowing mystic. Ghost of the Uchiha, understood. Thank you. Madara began to watch. Although he had dealt with Black Zetsu, he wanted to understand the full story, the intricate details of what had happened. He schemed through the early plot points. Naruto Uzumaki, the Nine Tails, just some blonde kid who hadn't even been born yet in his time. When he saw the moment he absorbed the 10 tails and gained the power of the 6 paths, Madara let out a signature Uchiha cackle. What magnificent power! Omashiroi! Might Guy, the 8 inner gates formation is truly as formidable as they say. In terms of taijutsu, I, Madara, acknowledge you as the strongest. Seeing himself nearly get one-shot by Might Guy, Madara didn't fly into a rage. The man with the bowl cut was indeed a worthy opponent, one that made even an old man like him feel a surge of excitement. Black Zetsu, damn you! Killing you 1,000 times over wouldn't be enough. His elation was short-lived. His face instantly darkened when he saw Black Zetsu control Obito's body to literally stab him in the back, and then use him as a vessel for Kagai's revival. To think that he, the ghost of the Uchiha, had been taken down by a black tiger grabs the heart move from that creature, what a profound humiliation. Kagai Tsutsuki, the Pure Land, the Sage of Six Paths. Madara's brow furrowed. To be honest, he never expected the Sage of Six Paths to exist in another world in such a form, let alone be able to return to the ninja world. Kagaya's power was a threat, and while her combat experience seemed lacking, her raw power was off the charts for the ninja world. After all, even Naruto and Sasuke, after gaining the power of the Six Paths, couldn't gain the upper hand against her. According to Kenji, more Tsutsuki would come to the ninja world in the future. He clenched his fists. He needed to start saving up points to exchange for a rejuvenation potion. Since Genjutsu couldn't bring peace to the ninja world, he would have to rely on his fists. Star Forger, Might Guy's final kick, Night Guy, was off target. If he had kicked you in the head, it would have been an instant finale. Aiming for the crotch would have been both damaging and humiliating. Ghost of the Uchiha. A muscle in Madara's cheek twitched violently. Have some decency, kid. That's just vicious. He didn't know if he could regenerate from having his head blown off, even with the power of the Six Paths. But a kick to the crotch, that was just too cruel. That would be a true ballbuster. If he had to choose between a kick to the head and a kick to the crotch, he would definitely choose the former. At least he could maintain his dignity as a man. Miss Pink Elf, Mr. Madara, I feel like your world is a bit morbid. Children as young as a few years old are sent to the battlefield. Isn't that just sending them to their deaths? Elysia had watched a part of it and found it completely incomprehensible. Children under the age of 10 were already capable of killing on the battlefield, and it wasn't a rare occurrence. Shouldn't children that age be playing without a care in the world? Ghost of the Uchiha, I cannot deny that. Madara fell into thought. He himself had started fighting on the battlefield at a very young age. He never thought much of it back then. Looking at it now, it did seem abnormal. It seemed that any child with the potential to be a ninja was brought to the battlefield by the adults for training. Lady Justice, when the war came, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, just sat in the village and let children go to the battlefield. Furina was speechless. If another nation were to invade Fontaine, even though she had no power, she wouldn't just sit in the Palais Mermonia and do nothing. Star Forger, Furina, careful now. Rin-Egan warning. Crash test pilot, Susanoo warning. Miss Pink Elf, planetary devastation warning. Ghost of the Uchiha, he was the student of the evil Tobirama Senju. Like master, like student. Madara had no kind words for Tobirama, the man who had killed his brother. If it weren't for Hashirama, he would have long since ground the inherently evil Tobirama to dust. The Konoha he and Hashirama had built, it was rotten to the core. He hadn't noticed it before, but looking at it now, it was unbearable to watch. Star Forger, Madara, what are your plans now? Ghost of the Uchiha, although the Eye of the Moon plan was a lie, I will still bring peace to the ninja world through other means. For now, I will save up points and deal with this aged body of mine. Star Forger, I have a method for you that's faster than saving up points. You can use your ocular jutsu to permanently control a suitable puppet. Then, you commit suicide. Have the controlled puppet learn and use Edo Tensei to resurrect your younger self. Finally, use the Rin-Egan to perform Ryan rebirth. Miss Pink Elf, Kenji, are you playing with nesting dolls? Star Forger, the Sharingan supports hot swapping, doesn't it? The whole process is just a little complicated. Ghost of the Uchiha, it's a viable method. Madara's mouth twitched, and his ripple-patterned Rin-Egan swirled. However, this method had significant drawbacks. One misstep could lead to an accident, like his soul not being able to return from the Pure Land. After all, that old fox, the Sage of Six Paths, was in the Pure Land. So, it was better to just save up points. It might be slow, but it was safe. He could still hang on for a long time with the Gedo statue. He wouldn't die of old age before he had saved up enough points. Star Forger, Furina, have you heard any news about a blonde-haired traveler over there? Lady Justice, a blonde-haired traveler? Never heard of them. It seemed the plot hadn't started yet. Star Forger, how is the dragon disaster in Mondstadt? Lady Justice, the dragon disaster in Mondstadt is indeed not over. Fontaine sent some supplies over half a month ago. While Furina was more concerned with Fontaine's affairs, she still collected a lot of intelligence on other nations. She couldn't possibly be unaware of a major event like the dragon disaster in Mondstadt, but all she could do was provide some humanitarian aid. Star Forger, let me know when you hear any news about the traveler, Furina. Lady Justice : I will. Furina pondered this. That blonde-haired traveler must be a rather special existence for Tivat. She would have her people keep an eye out for them. Chapter 29, The First Biotope. Jewel meat: a special and precious cut of meat found within the body of a regal mammoth, an ancient beast known as a living edible treasure. It is a cut that combines the deliciousness of top-grade shoulder, tenderloin, offal, and loin all in one. It is said that at night, it emits a brilliant light, just like a jewel. The regal mammoth in the first biotope is a clone with a capture level of around 48. The natural regal mammoths that roam the gourmet world have a much higher capture level and are even larger in size. Kenji and the others were flying toward the first biotope in a private Igo helicopter. Komatsu, have you ever been to the first biotope before? Toriko asked as he constructed a special hamburger. No, I haven't. The reservation process is very troublesome, Komatsu sighed, closing his eyes. By the time his reservation came up, he probably wouldn't have the time to go. Komatsu, as the head chef of an Igo-affiliated 5-star hotel, you can actually enter some of the open tourist areas without a reservation, Johannes explained. The first biotope was located on an isolated island, covering an area of 500,000 square kilometers. Its primary purpose was the research of gourmet beasts. The areas accessible to tourists were limited, many sections were off-limits to outsiders. Most visitors went to the Gourmet Coliseum to watch beasts fight. It's done. Let's call it the Toriko burger, Toriko announced. In front of him was a stacked hamburger with over 30 layers, a true culinary monstrosity. Of colossal proportions. Toriko, yours is still a little lacking compared to mine. In front of Kenji was a 40-layer hamburger, towering even higher than Toriko's. Isn't that a bit of an exaggeration, Mr. Toriko, Mr. Kenji? Komatsu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Where did this sudden, pointless competition come from? Haha. I didn't know you liked to eat like this too. It's so satisfying. But yours seems to have other kinds of meat besides the devil serpent. It looks delicious, Toriko laughed. He was pleased to find that Kenji was a kindred spirit. A small burger was no challenge at all. It's a small cave mammoth I captured back at the cave beach. I have more if you want some. Kenji materialized a chopstick from his energy and stabbed it through the hamburger from top to bottom, like a skewer, and began to eat it in large bites. The soft, chewy texture and fragrant aroma of the grilled meat, the sweet and sour taste of the tomato, and the crispness of the vegetables created a rich and complex flavor. Most importantly, it was incredibly satisfying. Toriko didn't hold back. He added a few more layers to his own burger, making it about the same height as Kenji's. But his eating method was different. He cleanly dislocated his jaw, pressed the hamburger down slightly, and demonstrated what it meant to swallow it in one bite. Komatsu was dumbfounded. What an exaggerated way to eat. Who dislocates their own jaw just to eat something? Kenji's mouth twitched. He could do it too, but he didn't see the need. It inexplicably reminded him of Tomcat. The private helicopter landed in front of Gate 6. Welcome, Sir Toriko, 2 soldiers said, saluting him with stern expressions. Toriko shook his head in resignation. He had told them countless times not to greet him like that, but they never listened. The research institute is huge. Don't get lost, Toriko called out. The tourist entrance was elsewhere. Although the biotope was open to the public, only a very small part of it was accessible. Only internal personnel could enter the first biotope through this passage. As they stepped onto the escalator, a spectacular view of the research institute came into sight. All sorts of ingredients moved along conveyor belts, like a massive food production factory. You could find anything available on the market here, and even things you couldn't. It had everything. 1/3 of the ingredients circulating in the world are produced here. We also frequently conduct species improvement, which is research that cannot be made public, Johannes explained. Hearing this, Toriko said with some dissatisfaction, are you still doing that? Rich people have strange hobbies. Johannes just nodded, saying nothing. None of the 4 heavenly kings were easy to deal with, but given their status, they were all problem children. Except for Zebra, who was an extreme case, having eaten so many species to extinction, the other 3 were manageable. They caused trouble, but not on a massive scale. Toriko, President Ichiryu isn't doing this to make money, Kenji said, shaking his head. That old man is genuinely trying to reduce the number of hungry people in the world. It's normal that some of his methods are hard to accept. Ichiryu was incredibly powerful and could eat any delicacy he wanted, yet he chose to eat the simplest of foods. Even his full-course menu was designed to combat human famine. It was different from Jiro's menu, which was filled with high-level ingredients. It might not be as delicious, but its significance was on another level entirely. The relative stability of the Great Gourmet Age was largely due to the influence of the ego, which Ichiryu had established. Otherwise, there would be wars breaking out everywhere over food. Ichiryu had experienced such things firsthand, which was why he was so dedicated to changing the world. He was a truly admirable old man, powerful yet kind and approachable. As a gourmet hunter, Toriko's main focus was finding delicious food, so he hadn't had much contact with the political side of things. Is that so? It seems I don't understand the old man at all, Toriko said, his expression a little embarrassed. It seemed he had thought of the ego in too dark a light. He believed that modifying ingredients was a form of disrespect, among other things. Come to think of it, it had been a long time since he had last seen President Ichiryu. After the four of them left the garden to make their own way in the world, they had little contact with the ego. They rarely accepted commissions from them unless there was an ingredient they were very interested in. Otherwise, they would just refuse. Kenji, do you know the president well? Toriko asked curiously. Fairly well. I've heard my master talk about him a few times. Though he never said it outright, I could feel that my master deeply respects him, Kenji replied. Of course, he had also learned a lot from the manga. After Midora used the meteor spice to devastate the human world, famine struck. The full-course menu that Toriko and the others collected, Ichiryu's menu, saved many lives. Toriko nodded. That knocking Master Jiro was very close to the president. It seemed he really hadn't understood the ego well before. He needed to find some time to go see Ichiryu. It had been several years since they had last met. The wine he was making from the rainbow fruit would be ready soon, he could bring it as a gift. Chapter 30, Mansom. The group took an elevator underground. This elevator was for internal ego personnel only. The area below was the biotopes research section, which was not open to the public. Mr. Toriko, what kind of person is the chief? Komatsu asked curiously as the elevator descended. Kenji knew. He was a bald, middle-aged man who loved to drink and often misheard what others said, thinking they were complimenting his looks. He was one of the top-ranked members of the ego in terms of strength. He loves to drink. He's the number 3 man in the ego, second only to President Ichiryu and the Vice President. As a member of the combat faction, his own strength is considerable. He's a pretty cool guy, Toriko explained. Komatsu grew nervous. The number 3 man in the ego, that was the highest-ranking person he had ever met. Even the bureau chief he saw regularly didn't have a position as high as this chief. Don't be nervous, Komatsu. Chief Mansom is pretty easy to get along with, Toriko said, sighing at Komatsu's timidity. Roar. The moment the elevator doors opened, a white-furred ape with round, bulging eyes charged at them, snarling. Komatsu was so scared he fell flat on his butt. However, the creature didn't get close. It slammed into a transparent glass wall with a soft thud. The glass was so clear that Komatsu had thought the beast had actually escaped. Don't worry, Komatsu. This is special reinforced organic glass. These creatures normally can't get out, Johannes said calmly. A shackle animal. Looks like a new species of Legion Yeti, Toriko remarked with a faint smile. Mr. Toriko, these creatures are so strange. The creatures in the glass enclosures were unlike anything Komatsu had ever seen. They seemed to be hybrids, looking very peculiar. They are all cloned from endangered species and then crossbred to create new species. Shackle animals, meaning animals that are bound, Toriko explained, his tone betraying his dislike for this method. From an ethical standpoint, many people found these hybrid creatures unacceptable, which was why the research animals here were highly classified. The general public was not privy to this information. Kenji stroked his chin. The crossbreeding of cloned creatures was likely done to give these endangered species another chance at survival. The root cause of extinction was a lack of adaptability, whether to changes in nature or to predation by natural enemies. If a species could adapt, it wouldn't easily go extinct. The 8 kings, for example, were highly adaptable. Komatsu nodded at Toriko's explanation. He turned around and marveled, wow, the transparency of this organic glass is incredible. It's like there's nothing there at all. Pfft. As soon as he said it, a giant red crab shot 2 thick streams of air at him. Komatsu did a strategic back lean and screamed in terror. There really is nothing there. This mussel crab. Kenji didn't know what to make of it. Its appearance was hard to describe. It had clearly defined muscles, and besides its pincers, it bore little resemblance to a crab. It looked more like a red, mutated, multi-legged bullfrog wearing crab claws. And what did he mean, normally can't get out? Is this an abnormal situation? Knocking. Kenji performed knocking on the mussel crab. Since it was a research animal, paralyzing it was more appropriate than killing it. Ha ha ha. You're pretty good, kid. Looks like I don't need to do anything. Quick, get this mussel crab back in its enclosure. How many times have I told you to watch them carefully? How did it get out? A burly man with a shiny bald head and wearing a camouflage tank top appeared, the strong smell of alcohol preceding him. Chief Mansom, every time I see you, you're drinking, Toriko said with a grin. Hey? Were you just saying how handsome I am? Mansom asked, preening. It was his catchphrase. I said no such thing, Toriko pouted, long since used to Mansom's antics. Kenji observed him. The number 3 man in the Ego was indeed very strong. He could easily defeat the current Toriko. But as for his looks, they didn't exactly scream handsome. He had more of a rugged, unconventional charm. Welcome, no, I should say welcome home. Mansom and Toriko clasped hands, both smiling broadly. You must be Kenji. The president mentioned you to me. Interested in joining the Ego? Mansom extended an invitation. He had heard from Ichiryu that this was Jiro's disciple, a genius with limitless potential. Upon their first meeting, he could already sense that Kenji was special. As for why his aura wasn't overwhelmingly strong, Mansom knew it was because of knocking. He himself had sealed most of his own power with the same technique. As the disciple of the great master Jiro, it was only natural for him to have a masterful grasp of it. Ichiryu wasn't here at the moment, otherwise, he would have extended the invitation personally. Geniuses like Kenji were a rare find. While the future of the 4 heavenly kings was promising, they still had a lot of growing to do. But for a genius to receive such high praise from Jiro meant that his current strength was already at the upper echelon of the human world's powerhouses. Join the Ego? What kind of position are we talking about? Kenji was intrigued. If he joined the Ego, anyone who looked into his identity would only see that he was aligned with them. With his connection to Jiro and Ichiryu, he wouldn't have any problems. It would also make things much more convenient, he wouldn't have to flash his black card every time he needed something. The president said to invite you to become a member of the Ego's Biotope 0. You'll have access to Biotope 0, and you won't have to worry about the benefits, Mansom said seriously. Kenji was qualified to enter the gourmet world, so this position was appropriate. It was a relatively relaxed position, unless there was a particularly urgent matter that required a gathering, he would be free to act on his own. Even if he was summoned, he could decline if he was busy. This was mainly due to Kenji's special status, the president trusted him completely, as he was his grand disciple. All right, I accept, Kenji nodded. The members of Biotope 0 were all highly skilled individuals invited by Ichiryu from all over the world. Does President Ichiryu know about me? Kenji wasn't surprised. His master must have met with his grandmaster and told him about him. He does. The president is arranging a partner for you. You can look forward to it, Mansom said with a smile. Mansom didn't know who Ichiryu would arrange, but it was bound to be a reliable chef. Kenji's interest was piqued. Grandmaster Ichiryu is personally arranging a partner for me? What kind of chef will it be? With the Ego president's influence, some of the top 100 chefs in the world would surely agree to become his partner. But it had better be a woman, he thought. A man and a woman working together, makes the work less tiring. Chapter 31, The Gourmet Colosseum. Wait, Chief, the Ego has a Biotope 0. Toriko asked, surprised. As far as he knew, the Ego's biotopes started from 1. How did a Biotope 0 suddenly appear? He knew a lot about the Ego, but he had never heard of this. Of course you don't know about it. Biotope 0 is located in the gourmet world, Mansom said with a grin. He was strong enough to enter Biotope 0 himself, but as the chief, his responsibilities were important, and his main focus was here in the human world. The gourmet world. Toriko's breath hitched. It was the place he had always longed for and looked forward to visiting. It was countless times more dangerous than the human world, but the delicious ingredients there were diverse and innumerable. To think that there was a biotope 0 in the gourmet world that he had never even heard of, it was fascinating. He had to go see it for himself one day. Kenji knew just how difficult it was to become a member of Biotope 0. It was located in the gourmet world, and besides researching and developing gourmet world ingredients, it was also responsible for monitoring creatures like the Nitro. The staff there was small, but each member was powerful enough to be a force to be reckoned with. They were all personally invited by President Ichiryu. Zebra, one of the 4 heavenly kings, had been arrested by a member of Biotope 0, Yusaku. However, he also knew that several members of Biotope 0 were already working for Joie. To celebrate your joining, Kenji, my treat tonight. My full-course menu, Mansom said happily. As the disciple of the great master Jiro, his background was impeccable. Kenji smiled and nodded. Although Mansom's full-course menu was all alcohol-related, the taste was still excellent. Hey, Chief Mansom, I want to eat too. Hearing that there was good food to be had, Toriko naturally sidled up. They were old acquaintances, so there was no need to be shy. I know, you glutton, Mansom laughed. But we still have some time. Let's head to the Colosseum first. Today's match is going to be a real spectacle, Mansom said meaningfully. Are you still doing that stuff? What kind of creature is appearing this time? Toriko pouted. The Gourmet Colosseum was a place to measure the combat power and capture levels of beasts. But in Toriko's eyes, it was just an amusement park for the rich and powerful. He had fought there before, using the beasts to hone his skills, so he was no stranger to it. A battle wolf. What? Toriko was stunned. He never thought they could create such a creature. That would definitely be worth watching. A legendary beast. Hearing the words battle wolf, Kenji smiled faintly. His master, Jiro, had a deep connection with the battle wolves. He had been raised by the Wolf King Guinness, one of the 8 kings. The Gourmet Colosseum. As far as the eye could see, the seats were packed. The sound of the crowd rose and fell like a tidal wave. Kenji didn't recognize anyone, but Komatsu and Toriko knew some of them were high-ranking officials from various countries. I've saved you the premium seats. Just waiting for you to arrive, Mansom laughed, leading the way. The premium seats were right on the edge of the Colosseum, offering the best view. This wasn't a place you could sit just by having money, it was a privilege of his position as chief. The battle wolf hadn't appeared yet. Kenji wasn't interested in the preliminary fights, so he turned his attention to the chat group. Starforger, Daigo, have you opened that meteorite yet? Crash test pilot, we have. It was a machine from the super ancient civilization. The projected image said it was a time machine. Miss Pink Elf, oh, is it the kind that can travel through time? Crash test pilot, I'm not sure. But the projection mentioned that Galza from before, and that a new monster called Melba will appear soon. Crash test pilot, she said that to fight the monsters, we need to awaken the giants in the pyramid. We're currently analyzing and searching for the pyramid's location. Miss Pink Elf, is it the pyramid in the desert? Crash test pilot, perhaps. Mr. Kenji, do you have any information you can provide? Starforger, your team can analyze the location of the pyramid. I could tell you, but how would you convince the others? How would you explain how you know? You should think about that first. Daigo wasn't a researcher. If he claimed to have figured it out on his own, the Guts team would likely be suspicious. Crash test pilot, I understand. Daigo thought about it. He was right. If he knew some information in the future, he would need to prepare an excuse. Suddenly, an idea came to him, a friend from nowhere. Kenji was from another world. He could use his name and tell the captain that Kenji had told him. While it wasn't a perfect solution, it was something they couldn't disprove. Of course, this was a last resort. The battle between the Troll Kong and the Galilligator ended with the Troll Kong as the victor. The battle wolf is up next. Mansom sat up straight. He knew the order of appearance. The battle wolf's fight would be brief but spectacular. Kenji and the others perked up, having been eagerly awaiting the battle wolf. Gate 1, an elephant dragon, capture level 17. Gate 2, a tiger-striped walrus, known as the amphibious demon, Capture level 13. Gate 3, a silverback troll Kong, capture level 10. Gate 4, the monstrous bird, Gerald, known as the Reaper of the Skies, capture level 15. 4 beasts appeared in the Colosseum, staring at each other with murderous intent. Oh, it's a lively one. 4 beasts at once, Toriko said in surprise. It's not over yet. The audience here today is all waiting for the main event from gates 5 and 6, Mansom said with a smile. The battle wolf and the devil serpent. They are the stars of today's show. Toriko grinned. The 2 creatures that fought for the title of the strongest in ancient times. I really want to fight them. I never thought I'd get to see the legendary, extinct battle wolf. This trip was worth it. Mansom roared with laughter. Toriko, you've grown a lot, but you still don't stand much of a chance against a battle wolf. Kenji was also interested. This was his first time seeing a battle wolf. The proudest and strongest of wolves, one of the creatures at the top of the gourmet world's food chain. Amidst the crowd's anticipation, Gate 5 slowly opened. A giant white wolf walked out slowly. The mere sound of its paws hitting the ground made the other beasts in the arena tremble. The battle wolf exuded a natural kingly aura. With its appearance, the atmosphere in the arena ignited. The crowd erupted in cheers. They had come here today for this very reason, to see with their own eyes the strongest wolf of ancient times, the battle wolf. Chapter 32, The Green-Haired GT Robo. Kenji's fists clenched slightly, an excited expression on his handsome face. As expected of the legendary battle wolf. What an astonishing presence! Although it wasn't the Wolf King Guinness himself, the bloodline it inherited carried a natural kingly aura. In ancient times, a creature known as the Death Gore was born. It was a supergiant herbivore, 50 meters long and weighing 1,000 tons. Its appetite was bottomless. It devoured the continent's forests, moving in herds, leaving withered land and extinction in its wake, like a countdown to the end. But when they set foot on the world's largest continent, they were annihilated before they could even eat a single blade of grass. The one who defeated them was a single young wolf who ruled that continent at the time, a battle wolf. The wolf before them now gave them a glimpse of that creature's immense power. This battle wolf was cloned from DNA we found by chance. It's 18 meters long, 8 meters tall, and weighs 11 tons. It should be the largest one in existence, Mansom said with a laugh. Kenji knew that this size was nothing compared to the Wolf King Guinness. But it was normal for Mansom not to know. The number of people who had seen the Wolf King and lived to tell the tale could be counted on one hand. He was one of the 8 rulers of the gourmet world, and not a single photograph of him existed. The moment the battle wolf appeared, the other beasts in the arena were frozen in place, completely intimidated by its aura. Rin, send a little more fragrance over, Mansom said into his walkie-talkie. The battle wolf's presence was too strong. As a beast at the top of the food chain, it had a terrifying suppressive effect on other creatures. In the beast control room, amidst a multitude of cages, a short-haired woman held a walkie-talkie, complaining, "So noisy, you bald chief. Come and do it yourself. Seriously, do you have any idea how hard it is over here?" Despite her complaints, Rin did as she was told. She released battle fragrance, an essence extracted from the blooming battle flowers on Battle Island, which could send beasts into a state of excitement. With the release of the fragrance, the beasts that had been intimidated by the battle wolf went into a frenzy, like they had been shot up with adrenaline, and began to attack it. The battle wolf didn't fight back, simply enduring the attacks of the 4 frenzied beasts. "Strange, this is different from last time," Mansom muttered. The battle wolf's behavior was not what he had expected. "It's a female, and she's pregnant." "Toriko has already gone in," Kenji said calmly, his eyes fixed on a GT Robo hidden among the audience. Toriko had entered the arena and, with a few swift moves, sent the beasts attacking the battle wolf flying. The rich and powerful audience, instead of being angry at the interruption, became even more excited, shouting and cheering. They had obviously recognized Toriko, and his name had even appeared on the betting boards. "How did he get in?" Mansom muttered, looking up. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Nani, oh my god. The 2.5-meter thick, specially reinforced organic glass has a giant hole in it. Even a devil serpent couldn't have broken that glass shield. Toriko wasn't this strong before he left the biotope. He had grown a lot in that time, he must have eaten a lot of good food. But, how can it be pregnant? More than the broken glass, the fact that the cloned battle wolf was pregnant was what truly astounded Mansom. It was a clone, the only battle wolf in the entire research institute. How could it be pregnant? This had to be a case of parthenogenesis. Chief Mansom, you should probably evacuate those people, Kenji said, cleaning his ear. Toriko's appearance had sent the crowd into a frenzy. The noise from the audience was even louder than the roars of the beasts. Oh, right. Crack. Just as Mansom stood up, the sound of shattering glass made his eyes widen comically. Toriko had just shattered the entire glass dome. This development meant the audience didn't need to be evacuated, they scattered in a panic on their own. The rich were the most protective of their lives. The only reason they dared to watch the beasts fight was because of the glass shield. What a mess, Mansom sighed, shaking his head. Now, the next beast competition would be a long time away, and he wasn't even sure if the rich patrons would dare to come back. The shattered glass rained down like sparkling, beautiful fireworks. Chief Mansom, that old guy over there, don't you think it's a bit strange that he's so calm in a situation like this? Kenji reminded him. Dohem was sitting there as steady as a rock. Everyone else had run away. Would a country's president really be that brave? Sucker, I can see you're not human with a single glance. Mansom looked in the direction Kenji was pointing, slightly surprised. President Dome? Johannes, check his gourmet ID now. After giving the order to Johannes in the control room, Mansom slowly walked toward Dome. He had also sensed that something was off. This president's behavior was not at all like that of a president. Kenji glanced over and then jumped into the arena. If Mansom is on his guard, the sneak attack shouldn't succeed, he thought. But even if it does, it's no big deal. AGT Robo can't threaten Mansom. President Dome, it's dangerous here. You should leave quickly, Mansom said with a smile, patting Dome's shoulder. Oh? This feeling. This isn't a human. Stab. A hairy mechanical hand shot out with incredible speed. Mansom seemed to not even have time to react as his abdomen was pierced through. This sudden turn of events startled Komatsu. Tina, who was filming the battle wolf mother and her cub, was also shocked. Is the chief going to be killed? In the arena, both Toriko and Kenji turned to look. Kenji slapped his forehead in exasperation. I already told you that guy was suspicious, and you still got sneak attacked. But it was probably because Mansom had sealed his own power with knocking. Humph. Mansom grunted, unfazed. A mere piercing wound. He took a deep breath, and the muscles around the wound instantly clenched around the hairy mechanical arm, preventing it from being pulled out. Frying pan punch. The veins and muscles in his right arm bulged, radiating heat as he sent Dome flying with a single punch. The wound in Mansom's abdomen didn't gush blood, it had been instantly sealed. So it really is the rumored new model GT Robo. When the human skin mask fell off, it revealed the true body underneath, a GT Robo covered in green fur. Mansom wasn't surprised. The moment he had patted its shoulder, he had already sensed a texture different from a human's. The one controlling this robot must be someone from the Gourmet Corp who has infiltrated the event. Chapter 33, Adopting the Battle Wolf. Is the bald chief okay? Don't worry about the chief. An attack like that isn't enough to kill him, Toriko said calmly. Gourmet cells were not to be underestimated. For Mansom, the number 3 man in the Ego, to be taken out by some nameless small fry? Don't be ridiculous. This green-haired robot was different from the one they had seen at the cave beach, its aura was nowhere near as strong. Kenji's gaze was on the mother battle wolf and her pup. The mother was licking the pup's fur. The naturally proud battle wolves probably only showed this gentle side at times like these. Bayou. The robot's pointed mouth opened, and it fired a laser beam that pierced through Mansom's neck, sending him flying. Die. Battle wolf. After knocking Mansom away, the robot's head didn't close. Instead, it aimed at the weakened mother wolf. Bang. A shadow flashed by, colliding with the laser beam. A cloud of dust instantly rose from the arena floor. Cough, cough. I can't just stand by and watch you kill it, a voice said. As the dust settled, Kenji's figure was revealed. He stood with his arms crossed in front of him, having blocked the flesh-piercing laser. A round, charred mark was left on his arms, but the beam hadn't even fully penetrated his skin. Kenji himself was a little surprised. He hadn't realized his defense was so impressive. Let's see you not dodge this time, the robot said, seeing its attack had failed. It began to charge another laser. Dodge? I'm coming for you. Kenji shook his head and instantly appeared in front of the GT Robo. You motherfu! Peeling shot. Seeing Kenji so close, the robot rapidly swung its arms, sending a barrage of tiny energy slashes flying toward him. Pft, pft, pft. The chairs in their path were sliced to pieces, and the concrete floor was covered in fine cuts. Knocking breath. Kenji puffed out his cheeks and exhaled a powerful breath, which swept out like a small storm, performing knocking on all the incoming slashes and stopping them in mid-air. Haha, that knocking technique is terrifying, Mansom said with admiration, getting up from the rubble. Chief. Are you okay? Komatsu was horrified by the sight of Mansom, who now had holes clean through his abdomen and neck. Haha, I'm fine. I just used knocking to numb the pain, Mansom laughed heartily. Kenji, leave this anteater-faced thing to me, Toriko said, his face contorted in a ferocious grin, his body radiating a volcanic rage. All right. Here you go. Kenji pulled back his fist, grabbed the robot by its pointed head, and threw it in front of Toriko. The mother battle wolf, carrying her pup in her mouth, leaped up to the spectator stands, leaving Toriko room to fight. Kenji looked at the mother wolf. She was weak now, but that was due to giving birth. On top of that, she had probably rarely eaten ingredients from the gourmet world, and she looked down on the ingredients of the human world. With her nutrition lacking, her body naturally weakened. If she were to eat her fill and fully recover her strength, reaching a capture level of 100 would be no problem. She might even reach several hundred. In the arena, Toriko seemed to be at a disadvantage. Even though he knew about the GT Robo's peeling shot attack, his opponent was too fast. Blood splattered from the numerous cuts that appeared on his body. Mr. Toriko. Komatsu clenched his fists. The Gourmet Corp's research on this GT Robo is something else, Mansom remarked. Compared to a real Nitro, these GT Robos are far from enough, Kenji said with disdain. Haha, a Nitro is a truly dangerous creature. These GT Robos are just crude imitations, Mansom agreed with a laugh. Toriko's footsteps were steady. Unseen by his opponent, he had closed the distance and was now right in front of the GT Robo. You'll never take my life with such childish techniques, Toriko grinned, his left hand already poised to strike. The pilot, Bei, was enraged. The robot's pointed head opened, and the laser port began to glow, gathering energy. Toriko, die! I'll kill you right now and send you to hell. The one going to hell is you. Now! Toriko roared, his left hand shooting out and plunging into the laser port. Focusing on one point. 5 hit. Ice pick nail punch. The recoil from the blocked laser, combined with the 5 impacts of the nail punch, sent the robot flying backward. Boom! An internal explosion blew the anteater-like head to pieces. The remaining body sparked and crackled, looking like it was about to explode at any moment. Finally got through, blown up by its own cannon. But my left hand is almost done for, Toriko muttered. Black smoke rose from his left hand, which was a bloody mess. The bones were fractured, and the entire hand had nearly been blown apart. Can you still hear me? The match is over. Go back and write a report for your termination review, Toriko shouted. Next time, fight me for real. The robot's unprovoked attack on the battle wolf had enraged Toriko. Senseless killing, unrelated to survival, was the one thing he hated most. There won't be a next time. I'm taking you with me, Toriko, the headless GT Robo suddenly said, then charged at him. Oh no! It's going to self-destruct. Toriko's face changed as he realized the robot's intention. Big bang! Bang! Kenji flashed in front of the robot and slammed his fist into its battered chassis. Boom! The immense force of the punch ripped through the robot's body, shattering it into pieces. The core, which had been about to escape, was also destroyed. As expected of carbon fiber and titanium alloy. It's pretty tough, Kenji said, shaking his hand. Over on the side, Mansom relaxed his stance. Thanks, Kenji. Toriko had been startled. If he had been hit by that close-range self-destruction, he would have been in serious trouble. It was nothing. Don't mention it. Unless you're absolutely sure it's safe, never let your guard down. Carelessness will get you killed. It's one thing in the human world, but in the gourmet world, you'll die. Kenji said with a smile. Toriko fell into thought at his words. Damn Gourmet Corp. These new robots they've made are really troublesome, Mansom muttered. He was a little worried about the power of the GT Robos. Right now, they needed a pilot, so their numbers were limited. But what if they developed fully automated ones in the future? Awoo! The mother battle wolf came up to Kenji and let out a soft whine. Although Kenji didn't understand other creatures' languages, he understood the meaning of this sound. You want to come with me? Kenji asked, surprised. He had saved the battle wolf without any intention of adopting it. He just wanted to help. Awoo, the mother wolf whimpered, nodding her head. I understand, Kenji said. Toriko, I'll leave the pup for you to adopt. As a battle wolf, they are proud creatures. A place like this, where they are put on display for others' amusement, is not suitable for them. Toriko was slightly taken aback. He looked at the pup, who walked up to him and nuzzled him, showing its affection. Ha ha ha. All right. From now on, your name is Terry. Terry Cloth, Toriko declared. Then. I'll call you Lotta, Kenji said after a moment's thought. Awoo, the two wolves replied in unison. Chapter 34, Shameless Plug. Yo boys! This isn't your usual chapter, this is a shameless plug, which means I'm promoting some of my other works. Each of them has something unique, so if you're enjoying this story, there's a good chance you'll find a new favorite among these two. Let's dive in. 1. My favorite isekai adventure, Konosuba. Genre, comedy, multi-anime crossover. Summary. Good news, I got isekai D. Bad news, I died. Good news, I got a cheat ability. Bad news, it doesn't work. Kobayashi, transported to the world of Konosuba, thought they'd cleverly tricked Aqua into granting a super powerful cheat ability. But thanks to Aqua's carelessness, the cheat fails to activate and is completely unusable. This is such a scam. Kobayashi wails, clutching their head. Luckily, Aqua is soon forced to descend to the mortal world, and Kobayashi's cheat is finally activated. From there, Kobayashi rockets toward the peak of greatness, crossed out, or rather, embarks on a path of utter chaos and madness. Featuring worlds from Konosuba, Clockwork Planet, Akame ga Kill, My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, ReZero, Overlord, No Game No Life, Zero, and more. 2. A New Life in Fairy Tale. Genre, action, adventure, reincarnation. Summary. After being reborn into the world of fairy tale, I learned magic and discovered that my own power was growing without limits. With an opportunity like this, what else is there to do? I'm going to become the strongest I can be, live my life to the fullest, and make sure my friends and comrades have the happiest lives possible. And so, a few years later. You have got to be kidding me. The guy opens with legendary tier magic. How is that even fair? If it's not some grand, ancient spell, it's a giant energy blast. Who is he even fighting? Just some grunts from a regular dark guild. That's a fairy tale wizard for you. 3. The Sharingan Gamer. Genre, Naruto, system, overpowered. Summary. When a modern soul is reborn into the world of Naruto, he finds himself in the worst possible situation, as a 5-year-old boy in the Uchiha clan, destined for massacre. Gifted with a mysterious system that allows him to level up, complete dungeons, and unlock skills, Uchiha Kyasuke has one chance to defy fate. Hailed as a once-in-a-generation prodigy for awakening his Sharingan at a tender age, he must play a dangerous game manipulating the clan's arrogant elders, challenging the village's top talents like Kakashi Hatake, and secretly grinding his power. With the knowledge of the future as his guide and a game-like interface as his weapon, can Kyasuke become strong enough to survive the coming storm and rewrite the bloody destiny of the Uchiha? Or will he be just another victim of the Crimson Knight? Number system, number Naruto, number gamer, number overpower. 4. My Hero Academia, Yoshikage Kira's Bizarre Adventure. Genre, slice of life, quirk world, JoJo fusion. Summary. My name is Yoshikage Kira. I'm a student in UA High School's Class 1A, and I serve as the class president. My quirks, Haman and Killer Queen. I live a quiet life, free of any bad habits. I strive to be an exceptionally ordinary person. On a typical day, I focus on bringing my classmates together, though I occasionally fight villains as a hero in training. To my teachers, I'm a model student. To my classmates, a dependable class president. To villains, I'm a thorn in their side. I do have one little secret that nobody knows about, I have a passion for collecting action figures. Note, the protagonist has no prior knowledge of the My Hero Academia storyline. Author's note, this story has a slice of life focus, aiming to explore the hero-centric society where everyone possesses a quirk, rather than being a simple showcase for the main character. 5. Naruto, the strongest Suten user. Genre, no cheat, hardcore growth, water style focus. Summary. Reborn into the world of Naruto without any cheats, hacks, systems, or a wise old spirit guide, only a world that feels completely real. No Sharingan or Byakugan, not born with an affinity for all chakra natures. It sounds pretty tragic, doesn't it? But that's okay. Wild imagination, I mean, knowledge is the ultimate tool. What I mean is, in this world, some people are powerful because of their bloodline, some are powerful because of their Chiyunabiu tendencies, and some are powerful because they have a special power-up. Then there are those who have the bloodline, the Chiyunabiu, and the power-up. Well, the protagonist of this story has none of that. This is the story of a transmigrator, the water-style ninja, Haruno Sakura. 6. One Piece, The Archangel's Guide. Genre, reincarnation, revenge, OP race. Summary. An evildoer of unknown origin is recklessly challenging justice. A naturally evil brat is secretly growing in power. The last survivor of the Lunarians has been revived from the ashes. The great archangel will reign over the entire sea. The Red Line will soon welcome back its true master. In the great pirate era, the seas are turbulent, and heroes contend for supremacy. A young boy, Lewis, sets sail from the sky island of Bale to launch a vengeful counterattack against the world government. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Make the Lunarians great again. TL.Dr. Reborn into the world and Lunarian race and natural-born monster and paramecia-type life fruit. 7. Overdrafting the future, starting in Naruto. Genre, Naruto, system, time-based power. Summary. Reborn in the dangerous world of Naruto, Kinoshita Geniki faces a grim reality: no clan, no bloodline, no talent. He's just a civilian boy fated for mediocrity, or worse. But fate gave him one cheat, an overdraft system that lets him borrow strength and skills from his future self. There's a catch: the future depends on his present efforts, and the path is full of peril. From struggling academy student to a self-made genius, Geniki will build his legend one calculated step at a time, crafting his own ninjutsu, mastering the Raise Nan before Minato, dueling young Kakashi, and rewriting history itself. Who needs bloodline when you can overdraft 100 years of growth? As the shadow of war looms and Konoha's elite watch this rising star, Geniki's journey begins not as a chosen one, but as a man who refuses to accept fate. Tags, System easygoing reincarnation. Note, system is not super overpower, at least not in the start. If any of these sound interesting, check them out and leave a review. Your support helps me keep writing and bringing more chapters your way. Chapter 34, Galaxy Racers. Chief, are you sure it's okay for us to take the battle wolves? Toriko asked. Since they've both accepted you, then take them, Mansom said dismissively. A beast from the gourmet world like the battle wolf is too wild. A place like this research institute isn't suitable for their growth. Even in the Colosseum, we can't find a beast that can match them. Kenji and Toriko were both affiliated with the Igo. Giving the wolves to them as partners was perfectly acceptable. By the way, Chief, have you fed the cloned battle wolf since it was created? Kenji asked. We have, but it's not very interested. The battle wolf is a creature from the gourmet world. It probably needs ingredients from there, Mansom said with a helpless shrug. Even the Igo didn't have a large stock of ingredients from the gourmet world. Most of what they brought back was used for research. Does that mean Terry won't eat food from the human world? Toriko's brow furrowed. It was understandable, the battle wolf's tastes were likely encoded in its DNA, and the food here didn't suit its palate. It would be fine for a short while, but in the long run, it would hinder Terry's growth. Since he had decided to adopt the wolf, he had to take responsibility for it. Don't worry, Toriko. You can find ingredients from the gourmet world in the human world too. Plant-based ingredients, for example, can be grown from seeds and cultivated here, Mansom explained. I see, Toriko nodded. He would ask around later. Kenji knew of one such ingredient, BB corn. However, he had other plans. He would find some time to explore the outskirts of the gourmet world himself. Ding! Sun God has obtained the Super Icebreaker Plus. Star Forger, congratulations, Apollo. You can break out of the mystical ice now. Kenji was surprised that Apollo had gotten this from the sign-in so quickly. While it was useless to the others, for Apollo, who was trapped in a block of ice, it was a ticket to freedom. As for his dormant body, once he was out of the ice, he would have plenty of time to slowly awaken. An icebreaker from the chat group was bound to be incredibly powerful, breaking through the mystical ice would be no problem. Sun God, once I have fully recovered, I will personally settle the score with Seiren. Even after breaking out, it would take some time for him to reach his peak power, especially without the energy of the galaxy star to awaken his dormant body. The moment the Supreme God Arun disappeared, Seiren's hidden ambitions were revealed. Star Forger Apollo, I think you should take a look at this first. Ding! Star Forger has uploaded the memory fragment Galaxy Racers. Star Forger Apollo, you appear quite late in the story. You might want to skip to the end. Not only was his appearance late, but his exit was also swift. We're all group members here. We should help each other out. Apollo was slightly taken aback. He was confident in his own strength, but he wasn't reckless. If there was intelligence to be had, he would review it first. After a brief watch, Apollo was speechless. Could my god teammates be any more of a liability? Especially the message he had sent to Lily through the galaxy star, come find me at the mystical ice galaxy immediately. Good grief! He couldn't help but cringe. If he hadn't sent that message, they probably wouldn't have found him by the end of the series. He was supposed to be the one waiting to be rescued, but he had to be the one to call in and give them directions. What a bunch of useless teammates! It had been hundreds of millions of years since that battle. Even if they needed time to recover, they should have been able to find his location by now. When he saw his own demise, he was a bit dumbfounded. It was so anticlimactic. It felt completely random. To be defeated by a mystical ice illusion, he fell into deep thought. The whole thing was strange. Is that right? Ghost of the Uchiha, for a kingly leader like Apollo, his death was far too unceremonious. Madara couldn't help but comment. It reminded him of his own fate. He had obtained the power of the six paths, only to be backstabbed by that trash, Black Zetsu. Apollo was also struck from behind. The similarity was uncanny. A leader like Apollo, just, honorable, compassionate, hating evil as one would a mortal enemy, and possessing a spirit of self-sacrifice. His charisma was off the charts. You couldn't find a leader like that in the entire ninja world. Miss Pink Elf on the internet, that kind of exit is called a plot kill. Apollo's light shone too brightly. If he hadn't been written out, it would have affected the later development of the story. Elysia had grown quite fond of surfing the web, especially after training, while enjoying the various delicacies Kenji sent her. It was the life. Lady Justice Apollo's teammates were so unreliable. If he hadn't gone to save them, he might not have fallen into Seiren's trap. Star Forger, if he hadn't gone, he wouldn't be Apollo. Apollo was fiercely loyal. He would never stand by and watch his comrades die. He would charge into a dragon's den or a tiger's lair without a second thought. And because of that loyalty, he was stabbed in the back in the mystical ice illusion while covering Poseidon's retreat. Crash test pilot, they just needed to find Apollo. Why did they have to split up? Daigo didn't understand. Splitting up seemed like a terrible idea from any angle. If the planetoids, led by Apollo, had stayed together, even Seiren and his forces would have had to think twice before attacking them. The good guys in that story almost never gathered together, which gave the villains plenty of opportunities to pick them off. Star Forger Apollo, I remember you used to be able to use the energy from the galaxy star, right? Although Apollo later told Zeus he couldn't control the current galaxy star, it didn't mean he had no chance at all. The situation at the time, combined with the seal, just hadn't given him the time. Sun God, there is a seal on the galaxy star. It requires the core energy spheres of us planetoids to be unlocked. Star Forger, once you've recovered, Apollo, you should go gather the planetoids. It's a waste to let a treasure like the galaxy star go unused. Sun God, the power of the galaxy star can indeed help us defeat Seiren and his forces for good. Apollo was not a stick in the mud. He was not inflexible. Once he recovered, he would head to Earth. Ghost of the Uchiha, Seiren should still be just ahead right now. You can take advantage of his weakness and strike him when he's not expecting it. Besides the void planetoid Seiren, none of the other demon planetoids were a match for Apollo. This was a good opportunity to launch a surprise attack on the enemy's base. Sun God, whatever I do, I must first be able to move. Apollo used the icebreaker. It was a plain-looking pickaxe. Crack! With a light touch, the thick mystical ice that encased Apollo's body turned to dust in the vacuum of space. Chapter 35, Mansom's Full Course Menu. Dinner's ready, everyone. The feast is served. Mansom grinned, his voice booming. His full-course menu was easy to prepare, as it didn't consist of overly rare ingredients. Toriko's head immediately snapped up toward the spectator stands. He couldn't miss Mansom's feast. Besides, his body needed a massive intake of energy to quickly recover from his injuries. Chief, aren't we supposed to be capturing the Regal mammoth? Kenji reminded him. Has this drunkard chief already forgotten? Ahem, no rush. Let's replenish our energy first, Mansom said, a little embarrassed, but quickly waved it off. Even if members of the Gourmet Corp had entered the first biotope, successfully obtaining the jewel meat was no easy task. The Regal mammoth was no ordinary beast. Kenji checked his own energy levels. Thanks to food immersion, he was still at his peak. On a giant dining table, dish after dish was laid out. The most impressive was a pterosaur-like beast, served on a massive platter. Dig in. Eat to your heart's content. Don't be shy with me. Is this a Bacchus dragon? It's a super high-grade ingredient. This is my first time seeing one, Komatsu exclaimed in amazement. That's right. The master of Bacchus Island, the Bacchus dragon. It's rich in alcohol and famous for its brandy-like flavor. It's Chief Mansom's main course, Toriko explained between bites. Ha ha ha. You can handle your liquor, can't you, kid? Mansom laughed. This is my full-course menu. Komatsu's eyes widened, his curiosity piqued. The full-course menu of the number 3 man in the Igo must be made of incredibly high-grade ingredients. Hors d'oeuvre, sake thief snail, mollusk, capture level 28. Soup, sake clam chowder, shellfish, capture level 25. Fish dish, Bacchus shark, fish, capture level 31. Meat dish, drunken rage bull, mammal, capture level 30. Main course, Bacchus dragon, pterosaur, capture level 37. Salad, Bacchus onion, vegetable, capture level 15. Dessert, Liquor King melon, fruit, capture level 19. Drink, Bacchus whale's tide, mammal, capture level 33. Chateau mat. Why are all the ingredients alcoholic? Just how much do you love to drink? Komatsu was dumbfounded. He had listened with curiosity, and 1 or 2 alcoholic ingredients would have been fine, but by the end of the list, every single one was infused with alcohol. He felt like he would pass out drunk after this meal and miss the capture of the jewel meat. Chief Mansom's full-course menu is the worst. Rin complained loudly. For a girl who didn't drink much, a menu full of alcoholic ingredients had no appeal whatsoever. I don't care what you think, Rin, Mansom said dismissively, nearly provoking Rin to spray him with her battle fragrance. Tina, ever the dedicated reporter, was busy filming everything, capturing shots of the 100+ dishes on the table. Kenji, however, wasn't bothered by the alcohol. He ate with relish. While it wasn't a meal for children, the flavor was excellent. Anyone who loved to drink would surely fall in love with these alcohol-infused foods. None of the ingredients had a capture level above 40. With Mansom's strength, he could have easily found ingredients with much higher capture levels for his full-course menu. The reason he chose these was simply because he truly loved alcohol. Most of them were from Bacchus Island. If it weren't for his position as chief, Mansom would probably be living there as a hermit. Kenji's master, Jiro, visited the Liquor King Islands 8 times a week. It wasn't just once a day, he might go in the morning, bring back some sake, find it all gone by noon, and go back for more in the afternoon. Has he learned food immersion? Mansom noticed Kenji's eating habits and thought to himself. The food in front of Kenji was disappearing at a rapid rate, yet his stomach showed no signs of bloating. The world's top-ranked powerhouses were all incredible eaters because they could store vast amounts of energy for battle. It seemed Kenji had indeed mastered the ability. Mansom wasn't surprised. As the disciple of a legendary figure, it was only natural for him to learn such a skill. This realization made it even clearer to Mansom that Kenji's strength was among the top tier of even the most powerful gourmet hunters. What an amazing young man! The future will belong to them. Thank you for the meal. Although there was a mountain of food, besides Komatsu, Tina, and Rin, who disliked the food, everyone else was a big eater. Kenji didn't need the extra energy, he could have eaten it all himself, but then Toriko would have had nothing to eat to recover his strength and stamina. Toriko, how's your recovery coming along? Kenji asked. It's not that fast, Toriko shook his head. His external wounds had healed, but using the 5-hit nail punch several times in a row had taken a huge toll, and he hadn't fully recovered yet. You have a tough fight ahead of you. If you don't recover properly, you might die. The GT Robos sent by the Gourmet Corp aren't just that green-haired one from before, right, Chief Mansom? This was a trial set up by Ichiryu for Toriko and the others. The only one sent by the Gourmet Corp this time that Kenji considered noteworthy was the black GT Robo piloted by Starjun. A GT Robo couldn't bring out Starjun's full power. For some gourmet hunters, piloting a robot was an enhancement, but for someone already as powerful as him, it was a limitation. Mansom glanced at Kenji. He had been planning to tell him not to interfere and help Toriko and the others, but it seemed there was no need now. Haha, you're right, Kenji. There are indeed some Gourmet Corp GT Robos that have infiltrated the biotope. But don't worry, the Regal mammoth is not that easy to capture, Mansom nodded. The GT Robos developed by the Gourmet Corp could enter all sorts of harsh environments without the need for a gourmet hunter to go in person. While this island was protected by mountain ranges, it couldn't stop powerful individuals. Other organizations would give the ego slack and not trespass, but the Gourmet Corp was a different story. They would find any way they could to cause trouble for the ego. They had come uninvited, he certainly hadn't sent them an invitation. He himself could successfully capture the jewel meat, but this was Ichiryu's idea to let Toriko and the others get some training. Besides Zebra, who was in jail, the other 4 Heavenly Kings would also be arriving soon. Toriko slowly nodded, mentally preparing himself. A fierce battle was coming. These GT Robos were a real pain, their bodies were ridiculously tough. Let's go boys! We cross the 700 Power Stone goal so as promise here the bonus chapter. Want a more bounds chapter? Then throw more Power Stone and get more chapter. Chapter 37, Chapter 36, Sunny. Chapter 36, Sunny. By the way, Chief, the Regal Mammoth hasn't been snatched up by someone else already, has it? Toriko suddenly slammed his hands on the table and stood up. Members of the Gourmet Corp might have already infiltrated the island while they were leisurely eating. Had the jewel meat already been taken? They had wasted some time at the Gourmet Coliseum, and then more time eating. He didn't want to end up empty-handed, having captured nothing. Don't worry. My brother just contacted me. He happened to capture a Regal Mammoth on his way here, Rin said, licking an ice cream cone with a smile. Sunny is here too. Toriko was surprised. He hadn't heard that Sunny was coming. Oh? Sunny is actually being reliable for once, Mansom said, equally surprised. Chief Mansom, I think you're celebrating too early, Kenji said, ready to pour some cold water on their excitement. Mansom looked at him, confused. Toriko, Sunny's strength is about the same as yours, right? Kenji asked. Toriko nodded. Even if there was a gap in strength between the 4 Heavenly Kings, it wasn't a huge one. Then, Toriko, can you currently lift a Regal Mammoth the size of a mountain? No way, Toriko shook his head. He was well aware of his own limitations. So the one Sunny brought is probably a baby mammoth. Jewel meat is usually only found in adult Regal Mammoths, Kenji explained. The data in the manga's official guide was just too exaggerated. Did the author just pull those numbers out of thin air? A body length of 1500 m, a height of 1000 m, and a weight of 50 million tons. Kenji didn't think the Regal Mammoth in the biotope was that ridiculously huge. Even if such a creature existed, it was probably in the gourmet world. There was a 3000 m vertical drop between the Regal wall and the ground. If the Regal Mammoth was 1000 m tall, it would be at least 1/3 the height of the wall. The manga never depicted that kind of scale. Let's go greet Sunny first. He definitely caught the wrong one. Mansom also realized that with Sunny's current strength, he couldn't possibly move an adult Regal Mammoth. The one he had caught had to be a youngling. He's here. Rin put down her binoculars and shouted to the others, who were still feasting. On the crest of a distant slope, a giant figure gradually appeared. It was reddish-brown with tiger stripes, had 6 short, stout legs, and 2 long trunks. Holding it up was a long-haired man. His colorful, lustrous hair cascaded down to his heels. With every step he took, a crater was left in the ground. The weight he was carrying was immense. It's huge. And that's just a juvenile regal mammoth. Is that Mr. Sunny of the 4 Heavenly Kings? Amazing. He can lift it with just one arm. Tina and the others couldn't believe their eyes. This was just a juvenile, yet it was larger than any beast she had ever recorded. What kind of behemoth would an adult regal mammoth be? It's not just one arm. Mansom said slowly, chewing on a drunken rage bull steak. It's the gang hoods. They're trying to steal the regal mammoth. Komatsu's eyes widened, and he shouted. Swish! The gang hoods that were pouncing on Sunny were instantly knocked in midair and fell to the ground, unmoving. Catch! Sunny casually tossed the mountain-sized regal mammoth toward the group. Run! Brother, you're so reckless! As the small mountain of a creature came crashing down, Komatsu and the others instinctively ran for their lives. Mansom caught the regal mammoth with both hands, his body sinking into a deep horse stance, making him look a lot shorter. Sorry, was it a little heavy, Chief? Sunny said with an apologetic tone, but his face showed no hint of remorse. A good catch. It seems your strength hasn't declined. But it wasn't beautiful enough. Sunny covered half his face with his hand, critiquing Mansom's posture. The way you caught the mammoth didn't stir the heart at all. It wasn't moving. And that bow-legged stance is just hideous. Not sexy at all. You might as well just die. Komatsu and Tina, who were meeting Sunny for the first time, were completely dumbfounded. This guy has a terrible personality. Kenji shook his head. Besides Coco, who seems relatively normal, the other 4 Heavenly Kings are all problem children. This Sunny was a bit of a narcissist, constantly talking about whether things were beautiful or not. You bastard, Sunny. Don't just throw an important edible treasure like that. You haven't changed a bit. You'll get what's coming to you. Mansom roared. Chief, you should be thanking me for thoughtfully delivering it to you, Sunny said, floating up to them. Yo, Toriko. Long time no see. Your cell activity is much more active than before, and your muscle elasticity is high. Looks like you've been eating a lot of good food, Sunny said, a little surprised. Hey. Don't just come over and touch someone's face. That's gross. Toriko said, wiping his face with a look of disgust. Rin glared at her brother. She felt a throbbing in her head. That arrogant brother of mine is so out of line. Who does he think he is, touching him like that? You dodged it. Who are you? The luster of your skin is quite good. Sunny noticed Kenji. The feelers extending from the tips of his hair had been casually caught in Kenji's hand. These feelers were even finer than a strand of hair. Just being able to detect them was difficult enough, let alone catching them so easily with just 2 fingers like Kenji had. My name is Kenji. Nice to meet you, Heavenly King Sunny, Kenji said, releasing Sunny's feeler. He had no interest in being touched by another man. Oh! A powerful gourmet hunter I've never heard of, Sunny said, looking at Kenji with interest. With this kind of strength, his fame should be no less than that of the 4 Heavenly Kings. He's a friend I just met. It's normal that you haven't heard of him, Toriko explained. I see. A friend of yours, Toriko. No wonder he's so strong. Sunny nodded, then looked at the 2 battle wolves, mother and pup, who had also dodged his probing feelers. Battle wolves? The kings of ancient times. What magnificent creatures, Sunny marveled. The capture level of the mother, Lotta, was definitely very high. The big one is Lotta, she's Kenji's. The small one is Terry, I'm raising him, Toriko said with a grin. And don't use your feelers on them. I remember it hurts a lot if they get torn off. The feelers extending from Sunny's hair, while strong, had their limits. And unlike having a haircut, which was painless, if one of his feelers broke, the pain was enough to make a normal person faint. All right, I get it, Sunny nodded. Since Kenji could catch it, he could also break it. The pain of a broken feeler was not something he wanted to experience. Chapter 37, The Power of the Battle Wolf. As siblings, you would expect Sunny and Rin to have a deep bond. But in reality, it was the complete opposite. The moment they met, they started bickering, stopping just short of a physical fight. Rin, what's with those pipe-like legs of yours? It's been so long, and your subcutaneous fat has really gotten out of control. It's because you're always eating those sweets, Sunny sniped, criticizing his sister's legs. Urasai. It's none of your business, brother. You're too nosy, Rin retorted. If I had a choice, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with a tomboy like you, Sunny said with disdain. Rin, not to be outdone, shot back, and I don't want to talk to a sissy like you. I'm not a sissy. Shut your mouth, you tomboy. Sissy brother, you listen to me. From now on, you are not allowed to touch Toriko. Kenji and the others were speechless. If they didn't know they were siblings, they would have thought they were mortal enemies. You get used to it. They're always like this, Toriko said with a sigh. He was long accustomed to the daily squabbles between the two. If they ever met without a fight, he would think something was wrong. Ahem, you two should probably stop. If we delay any longer, the Gourmet Corp will get to the jewel meat first, Kenji interjected. Jewel meat? Didn't I already capture the Regal mammoth? Sunny asked, pointing to the one Mansom was still holding up. That's just a juvenile. Compared to an adult Regal mammoth, it's a small game. The chances of it having jewel meat are slim, Kenji explained. Hey! That's a small game. Sunny was stunned, his face a comical expression of disbelief. He had been exhausted just from carrying this mammoth, and now he was being told it was just a baby? Just how awe-inspiring would an adult Regal mammoth be? Kenji is right. It's indeed a juvenile, Mansom confirmed. All right, fine. I didn't know it was a juvenile. The chief didn't make it clear, Sunny said, shifting the blame to Mansom. A muscle in Mansom's cheek twitched. Fine, I won't stoop to this brat's level. The jewel meat is up to you guys now. Don't let the Gourmet Corp capture the Regal mammoth first. The group nodded and set off toward the Regal mammoth's habitat. Kenji rode on Lotta's back. Having a mount was a different experience, and her fluffy fur felt nice. Most importantly, it looked cool. Gourmet Corp, 6th branch. Where is the jewel meat? What's the problem? Starjun asked, getting straight to the point. Grinpatch explained the current situation. Starjun listened, unsurprised. I'll trade places with the robot. I'll go myself, Starjun said, crossing his arms. He decided to capture the jewel meat personally. He hoped to run into that gourmet hunter he hadn't seen before and test his mettle. Although jewel meat couldn't compare to the ingredients of the gourmet world, it was still a rare delicacy in the human world. To get to the Regal Plateau from the Research Institute, they had to pass through several areas, the Black Grass Prairie, the Mushroom Forest, the White Forest, and a swamp and the Devil's Playground. The average capture level of the beasts in the first biotope was 27. The Regal Plateau and the plains were separated by a towering, vertical cliff known as the Regal Wall. So much black grass. It's very popular in salads, Komatsu's eyes widened. The texture of black grass was crisp, like scallions or chives. Toriko immediately squatted down, pulled up a handful, and started chewing. Kenji, what's on your full-course menu? Sunny asked curiously. I haven't decided yet. I'll be choosing from the ingredients of the gourmet world, Kenji replied with a smile. Oh ho! Ambitious, Sunny was slightly taken aback, giving Kenji a meaningful look. I also have a goal in the gourmet world. Kenji knew, of course, that it was one of the items on Acacia's full-course menu. With Sunny's current strength, he couldn't obtain it. Not only was it in the territory of one of the 8 kings, but it was also being watched by the Blue Nitro. Mr. Sunny, what have you decided on for your full-course menu? Komatsu asked curiously. Tina pointed her camera at Sunny. Unlike Coco, who disliked being on camera, Sunny ran a hand through his colorful hair and began to proudly introduce his menu. Hors d'oeuvre, beauty skin caviar, capture level 30. Soup, Holy Grail lobster bisque, capture level 19. Fish dish, whitening tuna, capture level 25. Meat dish, perfect beef, capture level 21. Salad, skin softening bean sprouts, capture level 15. Drink, Holy Grail dragon scale sake, capture level 35. I haven't decided on the main course and dessert yet. I can treat you all to it when I get the chance, Sunny said with a smug smile. Komatsu was speechless. It was all whitening and skin beautifying ingredients. Chief Mansom's was all alcohol. Each had their own unique theme. But for a girl like Tina, this was a very attractive menu. Kenji knew that when Sunny chose his ingredients, he prioritized looks first, then taste. By the way, Sunny is the pickiest eater among the 4 heavenly kings. There's no guarantee it will be delicious, Toriko reminded them. Shut up, Toriko. What about your full course menu? Sunny was not pleased. I just decided on the dessert. The rest are still undecided, Toriko said, continuing to munch on the grass. Black grass with cocoa mayonnaise, Kenji said, squeezing mayonnaise from a fruit he had picked from a tree onto the black grass. Delicious. Kenji sensed an uninvited guest and alerted the others. Everyone, get back. Be careful not to get crushed. Just as Toriko and the others were wondering what he meant, a giant spherical rock fell from the sky. They quickly dodged. Several rock golems, over 30 meters tall, appeared. Rock drums. A giant crustacean-type beast, capture level 27. They originally lived on the coast but moved inland in search of large amounts of food. They are extremely belligerent, Tina explained, reciting the details of the creature. Sunny's eyes lit up. The shells of rock drums could be made into exquisite crafts. Lotta, take care of 2 of them. You 2 can handle the other 2, right? Kenji looked at the 2 heavenly kings. Of course. Toriko cracked his knuckles, and Sunny had no objections. AWOO. Lotta let out a roar. In a flash of white lightning, the 2 rock drums were instantly sliced into pieces, their rocky bodies tumbling to the ground. This was the power of a battle wolf. Toriko and Sunny were both astonished. As expected of a battle wolf, its strength was unfathomable. A beast with a capture level of over 20 had been defeated in an instant. Chapter 38, Ruanmei and the God Tongue. Kenji sat on Lotta's fluffy back, sipping brandy and munching on black grass with mayonnaise as his appetizer. The battle unfolding before him was his evening's entertainment. Toriko had just gone through a major battle with the GT Robo, and the after effects had not yet completely disappeared. Sunny, on the other hand, was interested in the rock drum's marble-like shell, and his attacks were sharp and precise. The 4 heavenly kings, Toriko and Sunny, fighting side by side. This is amazing. Fantastic. Tina, as always, never forgot to record the scene. Although she couldn't publish these videos, they would make a great private collection to brag about to her friends. Diane May Ruan has joined the chat group. God's Tongue has joined the chat group. New members had joined. The chat group family was growing, and it was getting livelier. Kenji thought for a moment and figured out their identities. Diane May Ruan must be Ruan Mei, the beautiful woman in a traditional style dress from the world of Honkai, Star Rail. She was member number 81 of the Genius Society, an expert in the life sciences. Her personality was aloof and rational, a very dangerous genius. She was the spokesperson for Ruan Mei's meal plan, an event you could encounter in the simulated universe that made the final boss much easier. Author's note, I've only ever encountered it once. The probability of getting Ruan Mei's meal plan is too low. Ruan Mei was a genius, and the members of the Genius Society were basically all dangerous individuals. For example, Chadwick's imaginary collapse pulse, primitive drive S in human atavistic experiments. Perhaps the Ian of erudition, Nous, felt that their intelligence posed too great a threat to the universe, so it cast its gaze upon them and invited them to join the Genius Society. Kenji had gourmet cells and the power of the Star Forger. Elysia was a hairsker. Daigo would eventually be able to turn into an Ultraman. Ruan Mei would definitely be intensely curious about them. However, the chat group's rules prevented members from harming each other. In the world of Honkai, Star Rail, the Ians stood at the pinnacle of the universe, beings that he couldn't afford to provoke right now. But in the future, the tables would turn. God's Tongue. Irina Nikiri, from the world of Food Wars. She possessed the extraordinary sense of taste known as the God's Tongue, and she was the talented, tsundere young lady of Totsuki Academy. Although she had a haughty personality, her cooking talent was extremely high, so she had the right to be arrogant. A chef. An idea sparked in Kenji's mind. Although he didn't know who Grandmaster Ichiryu had arranged as his partner, Irina Nikiri was definitely an excellent chef. He could see how she performed. The world of Food Wars was a place where most chefs cooked with aphrodisiacs, especially the protagonist, Soma Yukihira. It was probably a unique law of their world. He wondered what kind of chemical reaction would occur when a chef like that encountered the ingredients of his world. With a good senior chef to guide her, Irina's cooking skills would surely reach a new level. He was looking forward to it, but he would have to see how things went. After all, many of the ingredients in his world were not ordinary. Diane Mei Ruan, my name is Ruan Mei. When you say my name, please remember to pause in the middle. Do not call me by this nickname. Ruan Mei was displeased with her nickname. You didn't have to pronounce the, just a pause would do. What a terrible sense of humor. Star Forger, all right, Diane Mei Ruan. No problem, Diane Mei Ruan. Will this aloof genius get angry? Come and hit me if you can. Diane Mei Ruan. For the first time, Ruan Mei felt her fists clench. As a relatively low-key genius, although she wasn't as well known as Herta, none of the people she knew had ever spoken to her in such a provocative tone. But after years of cultivating her composure, she wouldn't be so easily provoked. Miss Pink Elf, Ruan Mei is a very beautiful name. My name is Elysia. Ruan Mei, so you are all from other worlds. It was said that Xandar, member number 1 of the Genius Society, was the first to propose the theory of the imaginary tree, but the current understanding of it in the universe was still just a conceptualization. The Aeon of Preservation, Clipote, was always busy building walls. She had never heard of anyone leaving this universe. Probably only the Aeons knew about the legendary imaginary tree, like Aha, the Aeon of Elation. Star Forger, Elysia and Furina are in the Sea of Quanta, but their worlds have almost no connection to yours. Our worlds are not in the Sea of Quanta. The solar system where Elysia's Earth was located was isolated by the imaginary tide, and Tivat, where Furina was shielded by a false sky. In a crossover event, Sparkle had gone to the solar system to have some fun. Because she sensed Kiana's existence, the Fuli, the Aeon of Remembrance, had intervened. Ruan Mei, you mean they are in worlds that even the Trailblaze has not yet reached? Ruan Mei had a keen interest in the existence of Aeons, especially fallen ones like Akivali, the Aeon of Trailblaze. In terms of achievements and influence, Akivali was one of the most significant in the universe. The star rails they had laid allowed many remote planets to connect to the cosmos. The fact that a top-tier organization like the Interastral Peace Corporation had developed to such an extent was largely due to the power of the Trailblaze, which was why they were relatively polite to the nameless. This chat group was indeed very attractive to Ruan Mei. A Hairsker, the monster Galza, magical food. She had currently hit a bottleneck. Her several attempts to replicate Emanator-level creatures had all ended in failure. Perhaps this chat group was the opportunity she needed. By borrowing power from outside her world, she might be able to achieve her goal. To become Miss Pink Elf, is that so? Elysia roughly understood. The three of them were not that far apart. Star Forger, you're Irina Nakiri, right? At God's tongue. God's tongue, you know me? Irina Nakiri asked cautiously. She was sure this wasn't some prank, but a real chat group that connected different worlds. In her own world, she could act like a haughty young lady, but with so many powerful people in the group, she wisely chose to be more reserved, to act like a newbie. If she were too spoiled and unreasonable, she would definitely be isolated. A wise person adapts to the circumstances. She only knew a little bit about cooking, she didn't have any of their special powers. Star Forger, don't be so formal. We're not bad people. This was a blonde chef with looks, a figure, and cooking skills. He decided to give himself a good person card first. God's tongue, Irina's mouth twitched. Isn't that what bad people usually say? These people probably wouldn't hurt her. As the young lady of Tatsuki, she lacked for nothing, but besides her secretary, Hisako Arato, she had no friends. As the owner of the God's Tongue and the scion of the Nakiri family, her peers either kept their distance out of respect or fawned over her obsequiously. When she wasn't doing food tastings, she was usually at home in her mansion reading light novels and manga. But even that got boring. This chat group seemed interesting. Character notes. God's Tongue, Irina Nakiri, from Food Wars. Diane Mei Ruan, Ruan Mei, from Honkai, Star Rail. Chapter 39, Blistering Speed. When Kenji came back to his senses, Toriko and the others were already gone, having been sent flying into the sky like shooting stars. All that remained were him, Tina, and the two battle wolves. Are they going to be okay? Tina asked, staring up at the sky in a daze. She knew who the safest person to be around was, so she had been sticking close to Kenji. Just moments ago, the rock drum that Sunny had defeated, but had forgotten to perform knocking on, had launched a surprise attack. Toriko and the others were caught off guard and sent flying in two different directions, Toriko and Rin in one, and Komatsu and Sunny in the other. They'll be fine. This isn't the only path to the Regal Plateau, Kenji said with unshakable calm. Their vigilance was still lacking. If a higher-level beast had attacked, they wouldn't have just been sent flying. Terry, if you're worried about Toriko, go find him. We'll meet up with you at our final destination, Kenji said to the pup. Awoo. Terry nodded, then glanced at his mother before sniffing the air and taking off in the direction Toriko had flown, a white afterimage in his wake. Although his speed couldn't match his mother, Lotta's, it was still an astonishing 110 km per hour. What about you, Tina? Are you going back, or are you coming with me? Kenji asked. Tina's gourmet luck, while not as strong as Komatsu's, was still much better than an ordinary person's. She had a knack for turning misfortune into fortune. Of course I'm coming with you. I'm sure there will be exciting moments ahead, and you'll protect a weak woman like me, right? Tina replied without a second's hesitation. Kenji smiled and nodded. Even if Tina just stayed by Lotta's side, nothing would happen to her. In the first biotope, a creature of Lotta's capture level was undoubtedly at the top of the food chain. Get on. Hold on tight. It's going to be a little fast, so bear with it, Kenji said, sitting on Lotta's back and extending a hand to Tina. Even with Lotta lying down, it would have been difficult for Tina to climb up. Tina sat behind Kenji. The moment Lotta started running, any doubts she had vanished. It was, without a doubt, a blistering speed. The surrounding scenery blurred as it rushed past them. The wind from Lotta's charge was so strong it distorted Tina's face, giving her a comical, exaggerated expression. All she could do was use every ounce of her strength to cling to Kenji's waist, her body flying out behind them like a kite, swinging and swaying in the air. If she lost even an ounce of her arm strength, she would be sent flying. Slow down. Too fast. Too intense. I'm going to fly away. I can't hold on. Tina shouted, her words sounding a bit suggestive. But with the wind roaring past, Kenji didn't notice. He was thoroughly enjoying the exhilarating sensation of the high-speed run. Lotta's speed was many times faster than Terry's, even a high-speed train probably couldn't keep up. We're here. Before long, they arrived near the Regal wall. Looking up, the angle was nearly a 90-degree vertical climb, said to be 3,000 meters high. Finally. I'm dead. Tina lay sprawled on Lotta's back, her entire body limp and devoid of strength. It was more thrilling than a roller coaster. If the ride had been any longer, she would have been carried away by the wind. Her once smooth, long hair was now a tangled mess, like a bird's nest. Thank you for your hard work, Lotta. Kenji patted her head. He would have to find some ingredients from the gourmet world for her later. Most of the food in the human world didn't suit her taste. The journey from the black grass prairie to the Regal wall had been unimpeded. The beasts with capture levels in the 20s that they had encountered had only seen a blurry afterimage flash past them. Awoo, Lotta replied. This was just a warm-up. Ever since she had been cloned, she had been cooped up in the research institute, not free. Being able to run freely like this had reawakened her wild instincts. Kenji, we're not going to climb that, are we? After resting for a bit, Tina looked up at the steep, vertical cliff face and couldn't help but swallow hard. Just looking at it was terrifying. She had never learned to rock climb, and even a professional climber would have a hard time with this. The cliff face was dotted with many caves, and you didn't have to be a genius to know that they were inhabited by beasts. We don't have to. The adult regal mammoth will come down to find its calf. We just have to wait here, Kenji explained. Lotta, let's move back. About 2 kilometers should be enough, Kenji said, estimating the size of the regal mammoth. As Lotta moved, Tina yelped, thinking they were about to go on another high-speed run. She instinctively wrapped her arms around Kenji's waist. But this time, Lotta didn't run, she walked at a leisurely pace. Tina immediately let go, her face turning bright red with embarrassment. She had really been spooked. When they reached a spot about 2 kilometers away, Lotta suddenly looked up at the sky. Kenji followed her gaze. A large, purplish-black bird was circling above, with a person standing on its back. Lotta glanced up as well. It was the Heavenly King Coco and his Emperor Crow. As members of the 8 Kings species, they had a natural sense for each other. Kiss's capture level was a bit higher than Terry's, since Terry had just been born. But it wouldn't be long before Terry caught up. The gap between him and Lotta, however, was still huge. Is that a battle wolf? What a rare creature! It must have been cloned by the Research Institute. Coco, with his superhuman vision, could clearly see Kenji and Tina below. Lotta's presence surprised him. Like the Emperor Crow, the battle wolf was also rumored to be extinct. He didn't fly down. Instead, he remained on guard. He could sense strong electromagnetic waves coming from the Regal plateau, and more from behind him. They were all unfamiliar. It had to be the Gourmet Corp. Sunny is fast, but this isn't a good time to be climbing, Kenji said with a playful smile, watching Sunny use his feelers to carry Komatsu up the cliff face. A large object was falling from above, and Sunny and Komatsu were directly underneath it. Toriko and Rin had also arrived at the impact point, their faces filled with disbelief. What is that? A falling meteorite? From his vantage point in the air, Coco could see everything. He was stunned by the size of the Regal mammoth. It was enormous. What is that? Tina, who was filming the scene from above, saw a massive object in freefall. Her mouth dropped open so wide her jaw almost dislocated, and her eyes were bulging. It was the first time she had ever seen such a colossal creature. She knew the adult Regal mammoth was big, but this was many times larger than the juvenile. It was like a mountain.
Thanks for listening.